Chapter 1183. It was obvious that Lu Yurong wanted him to provoke a dispute with the secret guardian's hall and fight to the death. Then, she would take the opportunity to pry open Gu Yu's position and force him to leave. However, it was inevitable that Chu Li would be hurt in the process. If he made a fool of himself, she would be able to watch him make a fool of himself. Previously, he did not want to take a step back. He wanted to take Gu Yu down a notch. Gu Yu was getting more and more outrageous. Ever since the last time, he had become even more rampant. Now that the situation was different, he had more important things to do, so he changed his mind and took the opportunity to leave King An's imperial residence. It seemed like he was showing weakness to the secret guardian's hall. Both he and Lu Yurong were people who kept their promises. Lu Yurong would never go back on her word and would definitely bring down Gu Yu. However, without him fighting Gu Yu, it would be much more difficult for Lu Yurong to bring down Gu Yu. He could also watch the show. The two of them schemed against each other all day long, fighting in secret. Shao Qi asked, "Why do you value Lu Guandi so much?" Yes. Chu Li tightened his arms around her flexible and firm waist. "I don't think he's worried about Lu Jingjun." Shao Qi furrowed her brows and muttered, "Others might be afraid of him, but you might not necessarily be afraid of him. Then, you must have some ulterior motive. What is there to gain from Lu Guandi?" "Lu Jingjun?" She looked up at Chu Li. The two of them were so close that their breaths could reach each other's faces. Chu Li laughed. "Madam knows me best. You'd better think it through." Shao Qi frowned. "Green Deer Cliff isn't an ordinary faction. Once you offend them, you'll be in endless trouble. Of course, the four major sections." Chu Li smiled and nodded. Shao Qi stared at Chu Li worriedly. Every time he had this expression, it was when he was about to do something extraordinary. She could not guess what he was about to do. Chu Li smiled. "Don't worry." Shao Qi gently shook her head. She could not stop him from doing things anyway. Chu Li asked, "Madam, are you going to the Spirit Crane's Peak or the public house?" "Let's go back," Shao Qi said. "I heard that big brother and eldest sister-in-law are fighting again." Eldest sister-in-law ran back to her maiden home. Chu Li smiled. These two are really. Xiao Taiying's character was calm and steady. He was usually generous and straightforward, and rarely quarreled with others. His wife was also dignified and generous, gentle and virtuous. However, whenever the two of them were together, they would always quarrel. A small quarrel every few days and a big quarrel every 10 days. After the quarrel, she wanted to go back to her parents' home. Xiao Taiying quickly went to fetch her back. They had been married for less than a year, but they had gone back and forth more than 10 times. At first, everyone was very nervous, but later on, they got used to it. If they wanted to quarrel, let them. Anyway, they would make up soon. Shao Qi said, "I heard that it was a big deal this time. Big Brother was so angry that he refused to accept it. Master Shao Taiying is just being stubborn. Let's see how long he can last." Chu Li shook his head and smiled. "I guess by the time you return, Master Shao Taiying will have already left." Shao Qi frowned at him. Chu Li smiled. "Then let's go back and take a look." "Let's go," Xiao Qi said. The two of them disappeared in a flash and appeared in the public house, directly arriving at Iron Eagle Island. In the end, he did not see Xiao Taiying. He asked around, and sure enough, Xiao Taiying had already left. Shao Qi frowned and shook her head. She sighed. "Big Brother has changed." Chu Li smiled. "Master Shao Taiying is still deeply in love. He'll be fine after a while." Sigh. Shao Qi sighed. "What nonsense. It's fun to make a scene." Chu Li smiled. "Big Brother needs to relax like this. He was too tense before. Now, their days are very interesting." "That's true." Shao Qi nodded. Chu Li asked, "Madam, are you really going to stay here?" "Yes, the public house can't be empty." Shao Qi nodded. "If something really happens, I can help." Chu Li left the High Duke's public house and returned to Lu Guangdi's side to guard him. He was 10 miles away, but no one noticed his presence. Under the escort of 8 people, Lu Guangdi had a smooth journey and soon, he returned to Tide Listening Pavilion. Chu Li finally found out where Tide Listening Pavilion was. It turned out to be on a peninsula near the sea, and there was a chain of palaces on the island. This palace was called the Dragon King Palace, and it was where the fishermen worshipped the Dragon King. There were more than 10 palaces in total, and they formed a chain of buildings that stretched for about 5 miles by the sea. After Elder Su, Elder Hu, and the 6 protectors left, Chu Li rented a house not far from Tide Listening Pavilion and cultivated his energy to regulate his breath every day. The omniscient mirror observed Lu Guangdi from inside to outside, from the raging billow technique and other martial arts that he cultivated to the depths of his heart, from his actions to his words, everything was observed and remembered. The disciples of Tide Listening Pavilion were the servants of the Dragon King Palace. They usually hid their martial arts, and outsiders did not know about it. There were a total of 12 palaces, and 4 of them were open for people to burn incense and pray. The remaining 8 were not open to the public, and they were where Tide Listening Pavilion was located. They cultivated martial arts in the palaces, read and wrote. They lived a peaceful life, aloof from worldly affairs. In the evening, the setting sun dyed all the palaces red, and the lights in the palaces were dim. Everyone ran out of the palaces to cultivate outside. A handsome middle-aged man in a green robe slowly walked into one of the palaces and spoke to an elder with white eyebrows for a while. Then, the elder personally brought the middle-aged man to the 3rd floor of the palaces. This was a library with a total of 3 floors. It was the tallest building in the Dragon King Palace. They came to a quiet room on the 3rd floor, and the elder knocked on the door. Guangdi. Lu Guangdi got off the bed and opened the door. When he saw the elder, he smiled. Master. He then saw the handsome middle-aged man in a green robe, and the smile on his face instantly froze. Then, he turned around and walked away. He sat on the bed, closed his eyes, and did not move an inch. Guangdi, you two talk. There is no overnight grudge between father and son. The elder with white eyebrows sighed and said gently, If there's anything, just talk it out. After all, you're father and son. Don't be too distant. Master. Lu Guangdi opened his eyes and said in a deep voice. The elder with white eyebrows waved his hand, smiled at the handsome middle-aged man, and then turned to leave. Lu Guangdi closed his eyes again, and did not move an inch. Lu Jingjun took a chair and placed it in front of the bed. Then, he sat on it and faced Lu Guangdi, staring at him without moving an inch. Lu Guangdi closed his eyes for a while before opening them again. When he saw the gentle gaze, he was stunned and quickly closed his eyes again. The handsome middle-aged man was Lu Jingjun. He said calmly, Don't you have anything to say? I have nothing to say. Lu Guangdi said coldly. Lu Jingjun said, I originally thought that you were strong enough and practiced a good martial art. I didn't expect you to be crippled as soon as you went out. You're covered in dirt and you've embarrassed me. Lu Guangdi suddenly opened his eyes and glared at him fiercely. Lu Jingjuan's voice was gentle, but his words were sharp. Do you think that just because you have a high cultivation level, you'll be invincible in the world? Do you think that you'll be famous enough to surpass my previous reputation? Humph. Lu Guangdi did not deny it. He did not want to show weakness in front of Lu Jingjun. That was why he ended up in this state. Lu Jingjun shook his head. You're a disciple of Tide Listening Pavilion, and I'm a disciple of Green Deer Cliff. How can that be the same? Tide Listening Pavilion's martial arts and Green Deer Cliffs are worlds apart. It's like the difference between a mouse and a cat. No matter how strong the mouse is, it can never defeat the cat. Are you here to humiliate me? Lu Guangdi scoffed. Chapter 1184. Of course. Lu Guang said. Lu Jingjun remarked, You don't look like you want to take revenge now. What do you mean? Lu Guangdi furrowed his brows as he glared at him. Lu Jingjun asked, I can avenge you, do you want to say something? I don't want to say it. Lu Guangdi snapped, no one is going to beg you for help. If you want to help, then help. If you don't want to help, then don't. After all, it's not just me who's going to be embarrassed. Not bad, you have some of my essence. Lu Jingjun nodded as he was pleased. All right, you're not only embarrassing yourself, but also the Tide Listening Pavilion. Lu Guangdi's expression changed slightly. Lu Jingjun shook his head. Of course, mine too. Humph. Lu Guangdi pouted. He really didn't want to acknowledge this heartless father as he felt sorry for his mother. Although his mother had urged him to acknowledge his father on her deathbed, he felt that if he did, then his mother would have suffered for nothing. It would be too vexing. Lu Jingjun explained, my blood flows in your veins, so it's my fault that you're incompetent. I've specially asked for a primary heaven pill for you, but it seems like you don't want it. You're betting on your determination to recover your martial arts. You? Lu Guangdi was shocked. Initially, Yangming had the same thought, but he felt that it was wishful thinking. The primary heaven pill was too precious, and it could not be obtained easily. Yangming was only an illegitimate child, and Lu Jingjun had 5 other children, so it was impossible for him to obtain the primary heaven pill for an illegitimate child. What, you really don't want it? Lu Jingjun smiled faintly. Yes. Lu Guangdi gritted his teeth. He felt his face heating up as if it was burning. However, the primary heaven pill had a fatal attraction. In order to recover his martial arts, he was willing to sacrifice his reputation. As long as he could avenge himself, he would kill Chu Li. Lu Jingjun asked, what should you say then? Many. Thank you. Lu Guangdi gritted his teeth as he spat out each word. Lu Jingjun commented, looks like you can't let go of the knot in your heart, and you don't want to acknowledge your father. I don't want to betray my mother. Lu Guangdi said coldly. Forget it, if you don't want to admit it, then don't. Lu Jingjun sighed. You don't know what happened between me and your mother, so don't think that I've let her down. You're the one who betrayed my mother. Lu Guangdi scoffed. Lu Jingjun shook his head. It's complicated, but you've finally grown up. I'm going to bring you to live at Green Deer Cliff for some time. I'm not going. Lu Guangdi huffed. Other than Tide Listening Pavilion, I'm not going anywhere else. Are you really not going? Lu Jingjun asked. Don't you want to seek revenge? Lu Guangdi fell silent. Of course, he knew that it would be difficult for him to take revenge with his own strength, so he said coldly, how about this, you help me take revenge? Lu Jingjun was surprised. Lu Guangdi scoffed. I'll lure Chu Li over, and you'll help me kill him. Do you really want to do that? Lu Jingjun was slightly disappointed. Yes. Lu Guangdi nodded ferociously. As long as you kill him, I'll follow you to Green Deer Cliff. Otherwise, I'll never leave Tide Listening Pavilion. Even if I die of old age here, I'll never acknowledge you. Aren't you going to take revenge yourself? No need. Lu Guangdi coldly replied. If I could get someone else to avenge me, why would I do it myself? I'm not that stupid. Are you going to help me or not? All right. Lu Jingjun slowly nodded. Killing him is good too, he's a scourge. I wanted to kill him before, but I wanted to train you a little, so I let him go. All right. Lu Guangdi smiled. But I have to remind you, don't fail miserably. Don't think that Chu Li is no match for you just because he's young. He might actually be able to defeat you. Hee hee. Lu Jingjun burst out laughing. He looked like he was in his 40s, but he was actually over 100 years old. This was because of his refined inner energy and Green Deer Cliff's unique heart technique. All right then, get ready, I'm going to summon Chu Li over. Lu Guangdi said. How are you going to summon him over? Lu Jingjun asked. Lu Guangdi took out a white jade pendant and handed it to him. Chu Li gave this to me. He said that as long as I crushed it, he would come over. He even wanted to lend me a hand. He didn't want me to die. Isn't he your enemy? Lu Jingjun frowned. He really did not know the situation. He only knew that Chu Li had crippled Lu Guangdi's martial arts. He's my enemy. Lu Guangdi laughed coldly. It's all thanks to you. He was afraid that if I got killed along the way, you would come after him. That's why he didn't want me to die, but he couldn't bring himself to personally escort me, so he made this. Interesting. Lu Jingjun smiled. He felt that it was understandable that Chu Li was afraid of him. After all, his reputation was not comparable to the current Chu Li. Lu Guangdi said, I've asked Elder Hu and Elder Su to take a look. They said that this jade pendant is indeed strange. It might really be able to summon Chu Li over. Lu Jingjun waved his hand, and the white jade pendant instantly flew into his hand. He flipped it over and over, sensing it for a while, then slowly nodded. This jade pendant is indeed strange. Why don't you try crushing it? Then get ready, don't let him get away. Lu Guangdi scoffed. Lu Jingjun nodded. Don't worry, although he's quite famous, he's still no match for me. All right. Lu Guangdi grunted and crushed the jade pendant. As soon as the jade pendant was crushed, it was as if a stream of light shot out and instantly rushed to the roof. Then, it pierced through the air and disappeared without a trace. Lu Jingjun looked at the stream of light in shock. As he watched it disappear, he frowned. He's quite capable indeed. He knew that he did not have such an ability. Obviously, the stream of light would travel a long distance and reach Chu Li in no time. Then, Chu Li would know and rush over. How far do you think Chu Li will be? Lu Jingjun asked. Logically speaking, he should have gone back for a day and will only be able to arrive tomorrow, Lu Guangdi said. However, his light body technique is amazing, so he might arrive soon. Lu Jingjun slowly nodded as he thought about how to deal with Chu Li. Suddenly, a figure appeared in front of the two of them. It was like a phantom that slowly solidified. It was Chu Li. His white robe fluttered as he gave a fist salute to Lu Guangdi. Brother Lu, why are you calling me so soon? Is there any danger? He turned to look at Lu Jingjun. Lu Jingjun's handsome face was solemn, but his heart was in awe. He realized that he had underestimated Chu Li. He did not expect Chu Li to have such an amazing martial art. It was similar to the legendary light body technique. Lu Guangdi scoffed. You've been following me in secret, haven't you? Chu Li smiled and nodded. Before I meet Senior Lu, I don't dare to leave. He gave Lu Jingjun a fist salute. I've long heard of Senior Lu's name. It's my honor to finally meet you. Lu Jingjun asked, Why do you want to meet me? I want to learn a thing or two from Senior Lu. Chu Li smiled. I heard that Green Deer Cliff's martial arts are unique. How dare you? Lu Jingjun scoffed. He suddenly glanced at Lu Guangdi and changed his mind. He said coldly, All right, I'll fulfill your wish. Let's go to the beach. All right, please, Chu Li said. Lu Jingjun picked up Lu Guangdi and left through the window. Chu Li followed closely behind. The three of them arrived at an empty beach. The tide had receded, revealing the wide beach. Since it was evening, the sea was dyed red by the sunlight. It looked like thousands of golden snakes were swimming in the sea. Chapter 1185. Lu Jingjun realized that he could not underestimate the young fella in front of him. After all, Yangming's reputation was not obtained by luck. Yangming's light body technique was amazing, and with his profound cultivation level, Lu Jingjun had to be careful not to fail miserably. Lu Guangdi stood far away. Grandmasters were able to release their inner energy externally, and it was extremely powerful. To a normal person, it would be a disaster. Senior Lu, do you know Xiao Yueling? Chu Li asked. Lu Jingjun uttered, Of course I do. I also know that she's the daughter of the first wife of the House of High Duke. She's your aunt, right? Exactly. Chu Li smiled and said, "That's why we're all considered a family. We're only sparring and not fighting with our lives." That's true. Lu Jingjun nodded with a smile. "Don't worry, I won't harm your life, I'll only cripple your martial arts. An eye for an eye, what do you think?" Chu Li smiled. "If that's the case, I won't be able to keep my martial arts? As long as you understand." Lu Jingjun responded, "If it wasn't for Moon Spirit, I would have killed you right away. Why would I waste my breath talking to you?" Chu Li sighed. "Alright, if you want to cripple my martial arts, then it'll depend on Senior Lu's capabilities. Please." He unsheathed his sword and pointed it at Lu Jingjun. Lu Jingjun scoffed. "Make your move." Chu Li thrust his sword forward like a flash of lightning and appeared in front of Lu Jingjun in an instant. Lu Jingjun nimbly avoided the sword light and flicked his finger. Chu Li moved sideways to avoid the finger force. However, this finger force could make a turn. After dodging it, it would immediately turn back. It was soundless, and it was impossible to guard against it. However, Chu Li's omniscient mirror was able to see the finger energy clearly. After calmly dodging it, he thrust his sword forward at an incredible speed. When Lu Jingjun saw that Chu Li was able to avoid the finger force, he switched to a fist technique. His fists were like bronze hammers as he punched Chu Li's longsword accurately. After a while, Chu Li could not take it anymore. "Senior Lu, what fist technique is this?" Lu Jingjun shook his head. "Mighty Demon Fist." Chu Li asked, "Is it the antique study of Green Deer Cliff?" "You haven't seen the Green Deer Cliff's ultimate study," Lu Jingjun responded. "Based on your current abilities, you won't be able to see it." Chu Li's sword gleamed brightly. "Senior, what do you think of this sword?" The speed of his sword abruptly sped up, surpassing the speed of the Herculean Demon Fist. The Herculean Demon Fist was powerful, but it was a little slow and clumsy. Under normal circumstances, one would not be able to see its weakness, but once it went up against Chu Li's fast sword technique, it seemed even slower. "All right." Lu Jingjun grunted. All of a sudden, his body was as light as a white crane. When the tip of Ouyangming's sword was thrust forward, Lu Jingjun retreated along with the tip of Ouyangming's sword and maintained a 1-meter distance from it. Chu Li frowned, and the speed of his sword increased. On the other hand, Lu Jingjun seemed to be weightless. No matter how fast Chu Li's sword was, Lu Jingjun would always move with the sword. When the sword advanced, he would retreat. When the sword retreated, he would advance. Chu Li had never seen an antique study like this before. He asked in surprise, "What martial art is this?" "Dancing crane technique," Lu Jingjun answered. While Chu Li was withdrawing his sword, Lu Jingjun suddenly shot out a few fingers at the same time. Each finger force could bend, so it was impossible to defend against it. Chu Li appeared behind him in a flash and completely escaped the finger force's range. Then, he stabbed his sword at Lu Jingjun's back. Ding! Lu Jingjun suddenly turned around and bounced toward the sword. With that, Chu Li felt his entire body go numb, as if he was electrocuted. Chu Li was shocked as he suddenly recalled the scene when he fought with a master from Haitsong Mountain. He suffered a huge loss there, and it was because of this force that he received. It was as if he was struck by lightning, and he instantly stopped moving. It was the effect of the petrifying finger. Bang! Lu Jingjun appeared in front of Chu Li in a flash. Before Chu Li could react, Lu Jingjun struck Chu Li's abdomen with his palm. Chu Li was sent flying, and blood spurted out from his mouth as he fell to the ground. Lu Jingjun shook his head and smiled. Chu Li's martial art was crippled by that palm. Just as Chu Li was about to hit the ground, he suddenly let out a long roar. Then, his body suddenly expanded as if he was filled with air. Then, he shot out like an arrow and disappeared in the blink of an eye. "Hurry up and kill him!" Lu Guangdi yelled. Lu Jingjun shook his head. "Forget it, I've already crippled his martial art. Take this opportunity to kill him. Why don't you hurry up and kill him?" Lu Guangdi yelled anxiously. Lu Jingjun replied. His martial art is already crippled. Isn't it easy to kill him? We can kill him at any time. He's very cunning. He might even escape, Lu Guangdi said. Lu Jingjun asked, does he have a primary heaven pill that can instantly restore his martial art? Of course not. Lu Guangdi scoffed. Lu Jingjun said, then when you've recovered your martial art, just kill him. You're forcing me to consume the primary heaven pill. Lu Guangdi glared at him. If you want to enter Green Deer Cliff, you can't consume the primary heaven pill. Lu Jingjun shook his head. You only have one enemy. If he dies, you won't have any motivation to improve yourself. If you keep him alive, you'll work even harder for your revenge. Why can't I consume the primary heaven pill? Lu Guangdi asked unhappily. He wanted nothing more than to recover his martial art and hunt down Chu Li. He wanted to torture him, make him wish he was dead, and then kill him. When he thought of this, his blood began to boil. He wanted nothing more than to catch up to Chu Li. Lu Jingjun said, those who are not disciples of Green Deer Cliff and no martial art cannot enter Green Deer Cliff. This is Green Deer Cliff's rule. Even if you're my son, you can't violate it. Fine. Lu Guangdi said bitterly, then how do you want me to take revenge? Once you enter Green Deer Cliff, consume the primary heaven pill, and cultivate a few mystical techniques there, it'll be a piece of cake for you to take care of Chu Li. Moreover, his martial arts has already been crippled. By the time he recovers, your martial arts will have improved tremendously, and you'll have mastered the mystical technique. Lu Jingjun uttered, if you can't take revenge under such circumstances, don't bother. Don't worry, I'll definitely get my revenge. Lu Guangdi scoffed. Lu Jingjun nodded. That's good. Take a good rest. We'll leave tomorrow. Tomorrow? Lu Guangdi frowned. Lu Jingjun said, once you've mastered your martial art in Green Deer Cliff, you can come back anytime. No one will force you. All right. Lu Guangdi firmly nodded. His original awkwardness had been washed away by Chu Li. In front of Chu Li's revenge, his grudge with Lu Jingjun did not seem that important anymore. He wanted to enter Green Deer Cliff, recover his martial art, cultivate his mystical techniques, and teach Chu Li a lesson. Under the hazy night sky, Lu Guangdi slowly walked on the beach. The moonlight was cold, and the sound of the waves crashing against the beach calmed his heart. He walked along the beach step by step. He suddenly had to leave, and his heart was filled with reluctance. Suddenly, a figure appeared behind him. With a palm strike, the two of them disappeared together. The next moment, he suddenly reappeared and continued to walk along the beach. This time, he had been replaced by Chu Li. Chu Li had concealed all of his martial arts. It was as if his martial art had been crippled. He was already very familiar with this. Just like when he went to the Imperial Mausoleum, he was able to hide it from everyone. He calmly walked, then turned around and walked back. Finally, he returned to his room and lay on his bed to sleep. Chapter 1186. The next morning, Chu Li had yet to wake up. Due to his weak state, he could not sleep well. This was the state of having his martial arts crippled. His face was pale and he was lazing around in bed. Someone knocked on the door and Lu Jingjun's voice came from outside. We should move. Chu Li responded coldly and got up to put on his clothes. Chu Li did not hate Lu Jingjun too much. Even if Lu Jingjun wanted to cripple his martial arts, he did not hesitate to kill Lu Guangdi. Chu Li kept Lu Guangdi back to Tide Listening Pavilion because he wanted to observe his behavior. He was afraid that he would give himself away when he reunited with Lu Jingjun. No matter how powerful his heavenly demonic power was, he could not be too careless. After all, Lu Jingjun was not someone to be trifled with. Chu Li secretly observed Lu Guangdi for a few days and had a clear understanding of him. Fortunately, Lu Jingjun did not spend time with his son every day, so he was not very clear about some details. Since that was the case, Lu Guangdi was useless. Keeping him alive would only bring trouble. Thus, Chu Li decided to kill him and bury him somewhere without anyone knowing. When he put on his clothes and left the house, Lu Jingjun was already standing outside. He frowned as he looked at him. Lu Jingjun faintly felt that something was different. It was an indescribable feeling. Although Chu Li's words and actions were exactly the same as Lu Guangdi's, this was the result of Chu Li's careful observation. Nonetheless, he could not completely hide it from a top-notch master like Lu Jingjun. Chu Li was slightly nervous but quickly calmed down. He said lazily and impatiently, "Why are you leaving so early? We're not in a hurry anyway." Lu Jingjun said, "It's best to return early." Chu Li sneered. "Do you want to see your children early?" Lu Jingjun said impatiently, "If you want to live comfortably in Green Deer Cliff, don't provoke them." "Then they better not provoke me." Chu Li said impatiently, "If they provoke me, I won't go easy on them." "Then you're in for a hard time." Lu Jingjun shook his head. "But don't worry, they can't be bothered with you. They have their own things to do. Do you still want breakfast?" "I want to say goodbye to Master and Master's seniors." "Don't bother. It's not like you're not coming back. I'll be back in less than a year. You still have to say hello. Let's go." Lu Jingjun had no other choice. He lifted Chu Li's shoulder and left Tide Listening Pavilion like a gust of wind, ignoring Chu Li's struggles and shouts. Soon enough, they were 50 miles away, but they did not stop to rest. In the end, Chu Li stopped resisting and closed his eyes, not saying a word. Lu Jingjun was not bothered at all. He said gently, "Chu Li's martial art is indeed superb. If you don't cultivate well, you won't be able to defeat him." "His martial arts have been crippled," Chu Li said snappily. Lu Jingjun asked, "What if he recovers? He was a cultivation genius. If you don't want to be defeated by him again, then train hard." "I know, I don't need you. Guy back?" Pitter-patter. Lu Jingjun shook his head but did not blame him. They continued their journey. His speed was incomparably fast, as if he had an endless amount of inner strength, and he kept rushing forward. The location of Green Deer Cliff had always been a mystery. Chu Li did not expect Green Deer Cliff to be located on an island in the middle of the sea. Without Lu Jingjun's guidance, no one would have thought of it, and they would not have been able to find the way. Lu Jingjun found a small boat and sailed on it despite the strong wind. After a day's journey, they arrived at an island. This small island was like a giant turtle floating on the surface of the sea, faintly swimming about. The sea was vast, and the small island was lush and full of life. Chu Li could already feel the dense spiritual energy from afar. Although the spiritual energy here was far from that of 100,000 hills, it was abundant and far better than the outside world. Moreover, this was only because of the distance. If they entered the island, the spiritual energy would be even more abundant. Lu Jingjun steered the boat closer to the small island and crashed into a towering reef. The scene before his eyes changed as the small island was suddenly in the other direction. It was initially in the east, but it was now in the west, and they were a few miles apart. Chu Li smiled. This was clearly the power of a formation. He did not make a fuss because it was natural for the four major sects to be protected by a formation. He would only be surprised if there was no formation. Lu Jingjun drove the small boat at an unusually fast speed. The boat rushed to the west, and when they got closer, they realized that it was a rock island. There was nothing on the island other than bare rocks, and they could see everything in one glance. Chu Li knew that the island was still under a formation, and it was still an eyesore. After a brief moment, the small boat passed between two reefs. It was a close call, and the scene in front of them changed again. Another lush and lively island appeared in front of them. This time, the island had become a giant, which was 10 times the size of the previous island. The island had pavilions and pavilions with richly ornamented beams and painted rafters, and it was overflowing with an ancient vibe. At the easternmost part of the island was a towering cliff that looked like a sword that was stabbed into the sky. From afar, Chuli could hear the sound of bamboo flute. It was quiet and serene, and it made one feel peaceful. Chuli was stunned because the island was shrouded in a faint layer of golden light. He was very familiar with this layer of golden light as he had experienced it in the Titanium Temple. Within the golden light, all divine powers were rendered useless. Lu Xingjun looked at Chuli and said gently, "Don't talk too much when you're on the island." Chuli looked at the big island blankly. Lu Xingjun looked at him and smiled. At the end of the day, Chuli had not seen much of the world. Although Tide Listening Pavilion was quiet, it was not suitable for young people to stay in. Being ignorant and inexperienced would inevitably limit one's horizons. The small boat continued to approach them, and they boarded a pier. After walking for 100 meters, they entered the island, and it was as warm as spring. Two handsome young men in green robes greeted them with fist salute. "Masters Junior Lu. This is my son who was stranded outside Lu Guangdi," Lu Xingjun said. "His martial arts has been crippled, so I'm planning to help him build his foundation at Green Deer Cliff so that he can cultivate again." "Yes, please follow us," the two handsome young men responded respectfully and brought them to a basilica. The basilica was empty, there was no one there. A handsome young man pulled on a jade tray next to him, and a clear sound was heard. Soon, footsteps were heard, and 4 middle-aged men arrived. When they saw Lu Xingjun, they were stunned. A middle-aged man with a round face smiled. "Junior brother Lu, what are you?" "I'm bringing my son to the island." Lu Xingjun scoffed. The middle-aged man and the other 3 men looked at Chuli and smiled with complicated expressions. "Looks like he's a talented man. Why was his martial arts crippled?" "Junior brother Lu, you crippled his martial arts just to let him enter the island." "No." Lu Xingjun scoffed. "He was crippled by someone else." "Oh, who's so daring to provoke him?" "Chuli." "Ah, this young fella." The middle-aged man with a round face laughed. "He's famous now, it's like a reincarnation cycle. It's the same situation as you, Junior brother Lu. Will he end up the same way?" Lu Xingjun's face darkened. The other 3 men glared at the middle-aged man. Lu Xingjun scoffed. "Based on the Tempest Temple's strength, Chu Li's ending won't be any different. Besides, I've crippled his martial arts." "Hee, Junior brother Lu, you're so cruel." The middle-aged man laughed. Chapter 1187. Yes, let's get down to business. The round-faced man chuckled. "Junior brother Lu, sorry to offend you." "It's nothing." Lu Xingjun scoffed. He turned to look at Chuli. "Guangdi, these masters seniors want to see if you have martial arts from other sections. Just relax, don't worry." "Yes." Chuli nodded. The 4 middle-aged men surrounded Chuli. "Give me your hand." The round-faced man smiled. "Give me both hands." "Young fella, you're quite lucky." Chuli glared at him coldly and scoffed without saying a word. "Oh, you have the demeanor of Junior brother Lu. You have quite a temper." The round-faced man laughed. The other 3 shook their heads and laughed too. They looked like they were in their 40s, but they were actually older than Lu Xingjun. They were almost 200 years old, so they looked at Chuli as if he was a child. They did not care about what Chuli thought. Chuli extended his hands, but he was still a little nervous. He did not know if the life and death scripture would be able to deceive them. To be safe, he should really cripple his martial arts and then use the Earth Matrix and reincarnation scripture to recover. Actually, it would not take long, but he was still very confident in the life and death scripture and felt that he could deceive them. Even if he could not fool them, he could just run. The 2 of them placed their hands on his wrists, and a clear stream of energy flowed into his body, slowly flowing along his entire body, to every part of his body, neither too fast nor too slow and abnormally careful. After a quarter of an hour, the 2 of them released their hands, and the other two placed their hands on his wrists again. 2 streams of scorching chi slowly entered his body, probing bit by bit. The cold and hot chi were different from ordinary inner energy. After 15 minutes, the 2 of them let go too. The 4 of them looked at each other and nodded. The round-faced middle-aged man smiled and said, "Junior brother Lu, congratulations. Your aptitude is really not bad. It's a pity that you should have entered the cliff directly when you were young. I guess your achievements now are even better than Tianxing's." The taller man nodded. His meridians are thick and wide, and his organs are tough. His body is stronger than expected. Junior brother Lu, which sect was he in before this? Tide Listening Pavilion, Lu Jingjun answered. Tide Listening Pavilion. The 4 of them pondered for a moment before nodding. Tide Listening Pavilion could be considered somewhat famous among the sects, but compared to Green Deer Cliff, the difference was like the difference between the heavens and the earth. This little fellow is indeed a genius to have reached such a level in the Tide Listening Pavilion. The tall middle-aged man sighed and shook his head. Junior brother Lu, you've delayed him. Now that things have come to this, train him well. That's the only way. Lu Jingjun nodded. Chu Li saw that they were a little regretful and showed a look of disapproval. Naturally, his expression could not be hidden from the crowd. The round-faced middle-aged man smiled and said, "Little fellow, now that you are here, you can only be an outer cliff disciple. You cannot become an inner cliff disciple. You can forget about learning some truly powerful martial arts. It's not like Green Deer Cliff is the only one in the world." Chu Li scoffed. "Heh heh." The round-faced middle-aged man laughed and said, "Little guy, at your age, it's useless for you to join any sect. Even if you become a monk, you won't be able to enter the inner sect. Your achievements in life will be limited." "That's not necessarily true." Chu Li was unconvinced. "The key isn't the martial arts, it's the people who practice it. You're ambitious." The tall middle-aged man nodded. "That's right. No matter how powerful a martial art is, it's useless if the person who practices it doesn't succeed. No matter how ordinary a martial art is, it'll be powerful if it's cultivated to a high level. Work hard and don't miss this opportunity. Others won't have this opportunity, but you're already very lucky." "Yes." Chu Li Fist saluted. The round-faced middle-aged man smiled. "If there's anything you don't understand, you can come and ask us. Hurry up and thank Master Senior Chen." Lu Jingjun scoffed. Chu Li Fist saluted. "Thank you, Master Senior Chen." The round-faced middle-aged man waved his hand. "It's a small matter. You may enter the abode now." Lu Jingjun scoffed. "Thank you, senior brothers. We'll follow the rules too, but you must explain the rules to the little fellow." "He can't just barge in," the tall middle-aged man said. Lu Jingjun nodded. He brought Chu Li out of the basilica and walked along a cobblestone path. Soon enough, they entered a lush forest and arrived in front of a row of wooden houses. There were a total of 10 wooden houses. The empty space in front of the houses was a small martial arts field that was paved with blue sand. 3 young men were practicing on the field. One was practicing with a sword while the other 2 were practicing with palm strike. Their movements were vigorous and powerful. Chu Li glanced at the 3 of them. They were practicing different martial arts, but their techniques were exquisite. It was not an ordinary martial art. "This is the outer courtyard." Lu Jingjun pointed at the 10 wooden houses. "From today onward, you're not allowed to leave this forest." "Why?" Chu Li frowned. "What happens if I leave the forest?" "This forest is where the outer cliff disciples stay." Lu Jingjun explained, "Once you leave the forest, you'll be an inner cliff disciple. Once an outer cliff disciple leaves, he'll be chased out of Green Deer Cliff and will never be able to return." "How long do I have to stay?" Chu Li asked. As they spoke, they pushed open the door to one of the wooden houses. It was clean and tidy with a bed, a table, and a bed. The bedding was neatly arranged, and there was a vase with a wildflower on the table that gave off a faint fragrance. Lu Jingjun explained, "You can stay as long as you want, but you'll need to exchange for martial arts secret manuals with enough merit points. With enough merit points, you'll be able to see all kinds of martial arts secret manuals and cultivate them. Once you start cultivating, you'll be able to go to the basilica to seek guidance from someone." Merit points? Chu Li frowned. Lu Jingjun explained, "It's contribution points. There'll be some mundane matters that need to be taken care of within the cliff. Outer cliff disciples can take on these mundane matters on their own, and each matter will be marked with merit points." "What about inner cliff disciples?" Chu Li asked. Lu Jingjun shook his head. "Inner cliff disciples don't have that." "I can cultivate any secret manual?" Chu Li asked. Lu Jingjun nodded. Chu Li scoffed. "The difference in status is huge. Inner cliff disciples have been living on the island since they were young, and the island is their home. On the other hand, outer cliff disciples joined halfway, so they might not be loyal." Lu Jingjun shook his head. "This is Green Deer Cliff's rule. Don't think about changing it, just follow it." Chu Li asked, "Why didn't I join Green Deer Cliff when I was young?" Lu Jingjun shook his head. "You're not qualified enough." Chu Li frowned. Lu Jingjun explained, "You're qualified enough now, but you weren't in the past, or I would have brought you here." Chu Li nodded helplessly. His current body was far better than Lu Guangdi's. The heavenly demonic power had improved his body a lot, and he was also modified by many spirit pills. His qualifications were naturally shocking. "Alright, you can choose now. What martial arts do you want to cultivate?" Lu Jingjun asked. "If you can't think of anything, you can refer to the Secret Manuals catalog." Chapter 1188. Lu Jingjun was stunned and frowned. "Spirit crane technique?" Chu Li asked. "Can I cultivate it?" "No." Lu Jingjun shook his head. "It's the fundamental heart technique of Green Deer Cliff, and it's also the foundation technique for inner cliff disciples. Outer cliff disciples can't cultivate it, so you better give up." Chu Li was displeased. "Green Deer Cliff's best technique is the spirit crane technique, right? What's the point of joining Green Deer Cliff if I can't cultivate it?" "Who said that Green Deer Cliff's best technique is the spirit crane technique?" Lu Jingjun responded snappily. "The spirit crane technique is useless now, so inner cliff disciples have no choice but to cultivate it, or they won't be able to master the later martial arts. The spirit crane technique is used to build the foundation, and the dance of the cranes at the ninth heaven is above it. The depth of the spirit crane technique doesn't matter, but it's the introductory technique to the dance of the cranes at the ninth heaven. Most disciples stop after mastering the first level of the spirit crane technique." "But the spirit crane technique is the most famous," Chu Li said. Lu Jingjun explained, "In ancient times, the spirit crane technique was famous and powerful, but the spiritual energy in the world is scarce now. The spirit crane technique needs to be cultivated with spiritual energy, and it can't be cultivated without abundant spiritual energy. That's why none of the disciples on the island have surpassed the third level of the spirit crane technique. You should find another martial art to cultivate." "What martial art did you use to suppress Chu Li?" Chu Li asked. It was strange for him to say his own name, but fortunately, it was not his first time, so he did not give himself away. "Philip Swift Thunder. You want to cultivate that?" Lu Jingjun asked. "Yes." Chu Li nodded. He felt that it could complement the petrifying finger, and the combination of the two would be even more powerful. "Philip Swift Thunder isn't easy to cultivate." Lu Jingjun frowned. "Alright, I'll pass it to you, but it'll depend on your luck whether you can cultivate it or not. The island has abundant spiritual energy, so your progress in martial arts is several times faster than the outside world. You can cultivate Philip Swift Thunder while recovering your martial art." "All right." Chu Li nodded. "But I want to cultivate the spirit crane technique." "Why do you want to cultivate the spirit crane technique?" Lu Jingjun frowned. Tell me, I won't harm you. Chu Li said, I heard that one can become an enlightened master by cultivating the 4 spirit beast techniques. Lu Jingjun looked at him in shock. Chu Li asked, Is it wrong? So, you want to cultivate the spirit crane technique, then gather the other 3 techniques? Lu Jingjun asked. Chu Li nodded slowly. You. Lu Jingjun looked at him with a complicated expression and sighed. I really don't know what to say about you. Do you have an exaggerated opinion of your own abilities, or do you have great ambitions? His expression became much gentler, and he no longer looked impatient. Chu Li said, I want to become an enlightened master, or else what's the point of living my life in vain? Lu Jingjun nodded. Chu Li's words resonated deeply with him. Lu Jingjun was planning to defy nature and become a god too. He was also secretly looking for the other 3 spirit beast heart techniques, but he did not make much progress. He could not enter Goddess Attraction Mountain, no matter what, so he gave up and planned to look for the spirit snake transformation technique. He did not make much progress with the other 2 spirit beast heart techniques either. These heart methods were often kept secret. The current era wasn't like the ancient era, when spiritual beast heart methods were prevalent. They didn't keep their secrets to themselves, exchanging information with each other. You learn from me, I learn from you, everyone becoming heavenly deities together. Now that spiritual energy was scarce, heart techniques declined, but they became more precious. The atmosphere in ancient times changed, and the sects became stricter, which resulted in the current situation where heart techniques were hard to find. The path to becoming a god was said to defy nature. Not only the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, but the hearts of people were also trying to stop it. It was extremely difficult. Chu Li asked, Can I really not cultivate the spirit crane technique? You can't. Lu Jingjun sighed. Although you're my son, the martial arts of Green Deer Cliff's inner cliff can't be privately taught, even if you're father and son. If not only will I be out of luck, but you'll be out of luck too. None of us will be able to escape. All right. Chu Li responded lazily. Then I'll cultivate Philip's swift thunder first. And I'll give you the secret manual later. Lu Jingjun said, Cultivate well here and get rid of all distracting thoughts. Yes, Chu Li replied. Lu Jingjun fluttered away while Chu Li went to the small martial arts field outside. The 3 men who were cultivating came over curiously. The 3 young men were about the same age as him. One was fat and tall, one was thin and short, and the last one was of medium height, well-proportioned and handsome. Brother, are you an Outer Cliff disciple too? The thin and short young man smiled. I'm He Shu, this is Zhang Ye, and this is Sun Jia. We're all Outer Cliff disciples, so we'll be working together from now on. He had a friendly and easygoing smile as he pointed at the tall fat man and the handsome young man. Chu Li fist saluted. Lu Guangdi. Master Senior Lu is your? He Shu smiled. I'm his illegitimate son, Chu Li answered honestly. That's Master Senior Lu. The tall fat man exclaimed, You're Master Senior Lu's son. Sigh, you reincarnated into a good family, I'm so jealous. Chu Li scoffed. If I reincarnated into a good family, why would I be an illegitimate son? Being an illegitimate son is better than us. The handsome Sun Jia smiled. With Master Senior Lu as your support, your path will be much smoother. You might even be promoted to the inner cliff. Promoted to the inner cliff? Chu Li asked. Of course. Sun Jia answered. If your martial arts surpass your peers in the inner cliff, you'll naturally become an inner cliff disciple. If you make enough contributions, you'll be promoted to the inner cliff too. Isn't that making things difficult for me? Chu Li scoffed. The tall fat man, Zhang Ye, quickly nodded. That's right, the inner cliff disciples cultivate the same martial arts as us. Besides, they have the help of spirit pills, so it's completely different. It's wishful thinking to surpass them. What if we have a fortuitous encounter and really surpass them? He Shu laughed. You have to dream. Chuli realized that the three of them were easygoing and not scheming at all. Perhaps it was because of Lu Jingjun, or perhaps because Green Deer Cliff was strict in selecting disciples. Even Outer Cliff disciples had to have a good temperament. Lu Jingjun returned in no time. He waved at the three of them and waved at Chuli before entering the wooden hut. He took out a silk booklet and handed it to Chuli. This is Philip Swift Thunder. Memorize it first before you cultivate it. Chuli took the booklet and was secretly delighted. One page after another, he flipped through 38 pages in one go before he finished reading the secret booklet. He looked up at Lu Jingjun. Lu Jingjun asked, "Do you find it complicated?" Chuli nodded. There were a total of 6 levels in the booklet. The heart technique for each level was complicated, and the channeling routes were complicated. Chuli was lucky that he was the only one who could read it. Anyone else would feel dizzy after reading it once. You need to be patient and calm down to cultivate this, Lu Jingjun said gently. Calmness gives birth to thunder. This sentence contains the principle of heaven and earth. Take your time to understand. Calmness is the first technique of Philip Swift Thunder. Chuli kept the secret booklet. Lu Jingjun shook his head. Memorize it now. Memorize the first level first. I'll bring it back when you've mastered the first level, and you can memorize the second level. Chapter 1189. After he left, Chuli was not in a hurry to cultivate. Instead, he went out again to talk to He Shu and the other two. He found out from them that the outer cliff did not seem big. There was only a forest and 10 houses, but it was actually not small at all. The forest was dense and vast, and it felt like there was no end to it. Only by following a special footwork could one reach the pier by the sea. They cultivated or relaxed in the forest, but they could not reach the end even if they walked for a day. Chuli understood that it was because of the formation. Ever since he stepped into this place and activated the omniscient mirror, he could not spread it further. He could only see the forest, and could not see the situation outside as if it was blocked by something invisible. Chuli frowned. He had a feeling that this was normal. It was the effect of the Heaven and God pill that prevented him from prying. Therefore, his previous plan was in vain. Man proposes, God disposes. Without the Heaven and God pill, he could not pry into other people's cultivation through the omniscient mirror. He could only concentrate on the outer cliff, and could not pry into the spirit crane technique. He was disappointed and helpless. No matter how brave he was, he would not dare to rush into the island to snatch the secret manual. Even heavenly demonic sect had their own sect guarding technique, let alone Green Deer Cliff. They must be able to restrain enlightened masters, or they would have been destroyed long ago. Even enlightened masters could suppress them, let alone him. Therefore, he could not force his way in, so he could only use his wit. Now, he had found a way to enter the inner cliff. He had a clean family background in Green Deer Cliff. Once his martial arts were strong enough, it was not impossible for him to enter the inner cliff. The top disciple of this generation was Zhao Tianxing. Zhao Tianxing's cultivation level was not top-notch, so Chuli could definitely defeat him. Although he did not know if Zhao Tianxing would work hard and advance to a higher realm, he was quite confident. For the next few days, Chuli immersed himself in cultivating Philip Swift Thunder without eating or sleeping. The channeling route of Philip Swift Thunder was complicated and required a good memory. Chuli was like a fish in water when he cultivated this heart technique. It was a great advantage even though it was complicated and exhausting. Ordinary people would often feel dizzy after cultivating it once, lose their energy, or lack of inner energy. His cultivation recovered by leaps and bounds, and his Philip Swift Thunder also improved by leaps and bounds. Every 3 days, Lu Jingjun would come over to check on Chuli. Lu Jingjun was very happy with Chuli's progress. Moreover, Chu Li, who was disguised as Lu Guangdi, had the ambition to become an enlightened master, so Lu Jingjun treated him even better and personally guided him in his cultivation of Philip's swift thunder. With his personal guidance, Chu Li was able to cultivate even faster. Lu Jingjun was even more surprised when he saw how fast Chu Li progressed and how talented he was. He felt that Chu Li had surpassed his master. Lu Jingjun might not be able to become an enlightened master, but his illegitimate son might not be able to. In the evening, Lu Jingjun visited again, and the two of them had dinner at a stone table in the forest. Lu Jingjun had brought quite a lot of delicious food over. As Chu Li ate, he sighed to himself. He was ashamed of himself. However, when he thought about Lu Guangdi's temperament, he did not feel that guilty. Can I become an inner cliff disciple? Chu Li put down his chopsticks and took a sip of wine. Lu Jingjun frowned. You want to enter the inner cliff? Yes. Chu Li nodded. I want to cultivate the spirit crane technique. You should know that although inner cliff disciples can cultivate more advanced martial arts, they have less freedom. Lu Jingjun continued, it might seem like outer cliff disciples are at a disadvantage, but they're free. They can leave and come back whenever they want. I want to cultivate the spirit crane technique, Chu Li said. Lu Jingjun stared at him and sensed Chu Li's determination. Do you really want the spirit crane technique that much? Yes, I must cultivate the spirit crane technique. Alright, I'll think of a way to help you. Lu Jingjun nodded. It was rare for one of his children to be so ambitious to become an enlightened master, so he decided to do his best to help him. Chu Li did a fist salute and did not say anything else. Lu Jingjun said, Focus on your cultivation, I'll help you. You don't have to worry about anything else. Chu Li nodded. Lu Jingjun finished the wine in his glass and left in a hurry. Chu Li frowned and sighed. It seemed like the grudge between him and Lu Jingjun would not be easily resolved. Not only did Lu Jingjun cripple Lu Jingjun's cultivation, but there would also be other grudges after Chu Li accepted Lu Jingjun's help. Chu Li would have to settle the grudges in the future. The next morning, Chu Li was cultivating Philip's swift thunder. Lu Jingjun pushed the door open and hurried in. He placed a finger-long square box on Ouyangming's bed. Eat it. Chu Li opened his eyes and looked at Lu Jingjun in confusion, then lowered his head to look at the exquisite box. It was obvious that it contained something extraordinary. Primary heaven pill, Lu Jingjun said. Chu Li was stunned, then he was overjoyed. Primary heaven pill really exists? Quickly eat it, Lu Jingjun said. Then your martial arts will recover, and you can cultivate Philip's swift thunder. Alright. Chu Li agreed and opened the box. He suddenly looked up at Lu Jingjun. You didn't steal it, did you? Lu Jingjun glared at him. When Chu Li opened the box, he saw a pill the size of a longan sealed in beeswax. It seemed to be faintly shining. He picked it up without hesitation, crushed the beeswax, and threw it into his mouth. The pill melted as soon as it entered his mouth and turned into a clear stream of energy. After circulating in his organs, it went into his dantian. Then there was a boom as if thunder had exploded in his ears. Amidst the rumbling sound, his body trembled as if thunder had turned into life, and life began to flow in heaven and earth. Following that, boundless inner energy was produced in his dantian and flowed through his body over and over again. The inner energy in his dantian seemed to be inexhaustible as it kept washing through his body. Over and over again, his inner energy kept growing. In the end, his inner energy recovered and became even stronger. He let out a long howl that shook the entire forest, and the wooden houses seemed to be shaking as well. However, the people outside the forest could not hear his howl. Only the people in the other 3 wooden houses heard it, and they could not help but come out of their houses to the martial arts field to look at Chu Li's wooden house. Chu Li opened his eyes abruptly. His eyes glowed as if 2 sword lights were shot out. Lu Jingjun nodded in satisfaction. Very good, your inner energy has recovered. Cultivate Philip Swift Thunder well. Yes. Chu Li fist saluted. Lu Jingjun stood up and left. Chu Li sat on his bed and continued to cultivate Philip Swift Thunder. With abundant inner energy, Philip Swift Thunder advanced by leaps and bounds. In the blink of an eye, it broke through the second level and advanced to the third level. Then, it broke through the third level in one go and arrived at the fourth level. The fourth level of Philip Swift Thunder's heart technique was getting harder. The fourth level of the heart technique was difficult not only because the route was complicated, but more importantly, some of the meridians and acupuncture points that had not passed through inner energy were like walking on a swamp. One had to walk step by step slowly and could not go fast. Opening up these routes required tyrannical mental strength. Otherwise, one would fall into a trance after just a few steps. Only a strong mental strength could move forward bravely. Only by constantly pushing forward would one not shrink back or hesitate, nor would one become stagnant. When Lu Jingjun came the next evening, Chu Li was still cultivating Philip Swift Thunder. Chapter 1190. Chu Li opened his eyes and looked at him. Good. Good. Lu Jingjun looked at him in disbelief. I didn't expect you to be a genius. I wasn't mistaken. Chu Li looked at him coldly. It's a pity that I didn't cultivate to the 6th level. It's already extremely fast. Lu Jingjun waved his hand. Philip Swift Thunder is too powerful, and the backlash is too strong. You mustn't force it. If you feel like it's too much, you should stop to prevent yourself from going astray. Chu Li nodded. If I cultivate Philip Swift Thunder, can I enter the inner cliff? You're almost there. Lu Jingjun pondered. From what I know, Zhao Tianxing cultivated the dancing crane 9th heaven technique, and his swordsmanship is exquisite too. Your Philip Swift Thunder can catch him off guard, but you'll need other martial arts to conceal it. Swordsmanship? Chu Li frowned. Swordsmanship was the easiest way to conceal Philip Swift Thunder. When one's opponent attacked with a sword, one would usually guess how one's sword would react and would neglect how one's hand should move. If one suddenly flicked the sword, one would easily be hit. Swordsmanship is fine too. Lu Jingjun pondered. But swordsmanship is hard to learn and mastery. Blade techniques are faster. Swordsmanship, Chu Li replied. Alright, what swordsmanship do you want to cultivate? It's best if it's fast and can kill in one hit. In my opinion, it's the opposite. You should cultivate something complicated and exquisite. I'll choose a set of swordsmanship for you. Lu Jingjun pondered. Cultivate Philip Swift Thunder to the 6th level first, then cultivate swordsmanship. Chu Li nodded. For the next 2 days, Chu Li cultivated Philip Swift Thunder diligently. Lu Jingjun did not disturb him, so he successfully reached the 6th level. Philip Swift Thunder was extremely powerful. One hit was enough to numb one's body and cause one to lose control for a moment. Chu Li sighed to himself. The power of Philip Swift Thunder was similar to that of Heaven's Thunder Palm, but the paths taken by Heaven's Thunder Palm and Philip Swift Thunder did not overlap in any way. He was secretly surprised as he initially thought that Philip Swift Thunder and Heaven's Thunder Palm should be somewhat similar, but in the end, there was nothing in common between the two. Chu Li would leave the wooden house at night and appear at the High Duke's public house. He would hug his beauty, Shao Qi, and then return to the wooden house in the morning to cultivate and meditate. Even so, his progress was extremely fast. If Yangming was not afraid of arousing Lu Jingjun's suspicion, he would have mastered Philip Swift Thunder. Early in the morning, Lu Jingjun gave Yangming a secret manual. It was the Great Heaven-deriving sword technique. This set of sword techniques was meticulous and detailed. The sword strikes were like an inescapable net that covered every inch of space, and all directions were taken into consideration. Every sword strike required great effort, and one sword was connected to the other in a continuous manner, just like a game of chess. Chu Li was very interested in this sword manual. He felt that it had opened a new window for him. It was particularly novel and interesting. He had seen this kind of sword technique before, but none of them were as detailed as this one. If he could fuse the great heaven-deriving sword with his current sword technique, the power of his sword momentum would be even stronger. The great heaven-deriving sword technique and the formation were slightly compatible with his manifestation of nature restoration, as if they contained the mysteries of heaven and earth. I think you're suited to this type of sword technique. Very few people cultivate the great heaven-deriving sword technique because it's too complicated. Moreover, you can't use it even if you've mastered it. You need a unique talent. Try it, Lu Jingjun said. If you can't, change to another sword technique. This sword technique is really good. Chu Li nodded. There's no need to change, I can cultivate it. That's good. Lu Jingjun shook his head. It's a pity that I've never cultivated this sword technique before, so you'll have to figure it out yourself. However, I can spar with you to help you understand this sword technique. All right. Chu Li nodded. After practicing for 2 days, he was able to perform it when he sparred with Lu Jingjun. The great heaven-deriving sword technique was similar to the layout in a game of Go, where every move would force one's opponent to follow one's own path. By the time one's opponent could react, one would already be in a desperate situation and would not be able to escape. The great heaven-deriving sword technique was similar as well. Usually, one strike after another would predict one's opponent's response, forcing one to follow a certain path and eventually lose. Chu Li had experienced the mystery of this sword technique and found a way to break it. He had to destroy with all his might, and every move was meant to perish together with his opponent. This was the only way to prevent himself from being led by the nose and to avoid falling into a hopeless situation step by step. When Lu Jingjun exchanged blows with Chu Li, he had an illusion that he had turned into a flying insect that fell into a spider's web. He was entangled tighter and tighter until he could no longer move and was bitten. Therefore, if Lu Jingjun did not want to end up in a situation where he could not struggle, he had to risk his life in the beginning and must not take the normal path. In the evening, after the two of them exchanged blows, Lu Jingjun sheathed his sword and sighed. All right, you can try challenging Zhao Tianxing now. I'll do it tomorrow. Chu Li smiled. For a period of time, Chu Li had been diligently cultivating his martial art. In the eyes of outsiders, he had returned to the High Duke's public house to avoid the limelight of the Crown Prince's residence. The secret Guardian's Hall was still hot on his trail, and it was said that someone had reported Chu Li for colluding with the Holy Church of Light. Everyone knew that Chu Li and the Holy Church of Light were like fire and water. However, the secret Guardian's Hall used this to interrogate Chu Li and wanted him to explain clearly. The people from the secret Guardian's Hall had already followed them to the public house, but they were stopped outside the public house. Apart from the High Duke's public house, Chu Li's other identity, Zhao Dave, was also idling around in Gale City. He would occasionally show his face and continue his isolated cultivation. Fortunately, he was lucky that the Holy Church of Light did not have any missions, so he could still be carefree. At this time, he felt that he could not split himself into two. It seemed like the heavenly demonic power was not omnipotent. After all, one person could not be used as many as several people. Time was limited. He Shu and the other two had been watching the martial arts field. When they saw the improvement in Chu Li's swordsmanship and the fight with Lu Jingjun, they were dumbfounded and felt inferior. Without even fighting, they knew that they were far from being Chu Li's match. The next morning, a tall and handsome young man slowly walked to the martial arts field. He glanced at everyone and said, "I'm Zhao Tianxing, an Inner Cliff disciple. I heard that Outer Cliff disciple Lu Guangdi wants to challenge you?" Chu Li came out of the house and gave a fist salute. "I'm Lu Guangdi, and I want to enter the Inner Cliff." "All right," Zhao Tianxing said, "let's have a fight then." Chu Li asked, "If I defeat you, I can enter the inner cliff? Yes. Zhao Tianxing looked at him lazily and nodded. Junior brother Lu, your inner energy cultivation level is quite high. I wonder how your martial arts are. Chu Li scoffed. You'll know once you try. Then, he thrust his sword at Zhao Tianxing, forcing him to draw his sword. Chu Li performed the great heaven-deriving sword technique one move after another, leaving Zhao Tianxing with no choice but to counter each move. Gradually, he was at a disadvantage. Zhao Tianxing was surprised. He did not expect an outer cliff disciple to have such an exquisite sword technique. He gradually felt that he was no match for Chu Li. If this went on, he would be defeated, and his reputation would be ruined. With this thought in mind, he began to change his technique. His body suddenly became as light as a feather and moved with the wind. Whenever the tip of Chu Li's sword approached, there would be a gust of wind, and his body would retreat along with the tip of Chu Li's sword. Chapter 1191. The great heaven-deriving sword was becoming more and more ferocious, but the dancing crane technique was unusually mysterious. Zhao Tianxing could always avoid the tip of the sword and maintain a constant distance from it. No matter how exquisite Chu Li's technique was, Zhao Tianxing remained calm and collected. Chu Li did not panic, but the other three were anxious. If this went on, they might not be able to defeat Zhao Tianxing. There was a natural moat between outer cliff disciples and inner cliff disciples, and it was extremely difficult to break through. If one's aptitude, cultivation method, and cultivation time were inferior, it would be extremely difficult to defeat an inner cliff disciple. In the past 100 years, no one had managed to do so. He Shu and the other two were secretly excited. They wanted to see if Chu Li could complete this step. If they could complete it, it would be a great encouragement to them. They had already given up in despair. If they could really enter the inner cliff, they would not be in such a state now. They would definitely cultivate even harder. Chu Li's swordsmanship became slower and slower. It was as if he had to think about every thrust of his sword. Zhao Tianxing's expression became even more serious. Instead of taking advantage of the fact that Chu Li was slowing down to charge at him, Zhao Tianxing desperately wanted to get out of the sword force's range. This was an instinctive impulse as he sensed that the great heaven-deriving sword's power was getting stronger. Chu Li also noticed that the power of the great heaven-deriving sword was getting stronger. It was as if the great heaven-deriving sword was naturally changing as it became more familiar with Zhao Tianxing's body movement technique. It was faintly restraining Zhao Tianxing's body movement technique so that he could not simply retreat and avoid the tip of the sword. Chu Li pondered for a moment. It seemed like it was not realistic to rely on the great heaven-deriving sword to defeat the dancing crane technique. He was currently disguised as Lu Guangdi, so he could not use his own cultivation and mystical technique. He could only use Lu Guangdi's martial arts. Previously, he had already learned Lu Guangdi's Raging Billow's Heart technique, so his inner energy was driven by the Raging Billow's Heart technique. Since he could not use his own inner energy to drive his martial arts, his power was already a notch lower. Since he could not use the petrifying finger and other mystical techniques, he could only use the great heaven-deriving sword and Philip's swift thunder. No matter what, he had only practiced it for slightly more than 10 days. He was still far from mastering it, so he could not display its full power. Therefore, it was very difficult for him to deal with Zhao Tianxing. The great heaven-deriving sword changed abruptly. It was as swift and fierce as lightning, and it stabbed more than a dozen times in an instant. The sky was filled with sword shadows that enveloped Zhao Tianxing. Zhao Tianxing's eyes glinted as he discovered a flaw. He felt that Chu Li had revealed such a flaw because he was anxious. He suddenly appeared in front of Chu Li and slammed his palm down. Chu Li used Philip's swift thunder. Bang! An explosive sound rang out. It was as if firecrackers had exploded between their palms. Zhao Tianxing clenched his palm into a fist and continued smashing over. He was completely unaffected by snapping swift thunder. Chu Li resisted the urge to use imminent skyline and took the punch head-on. He was sent flying. He somersaulted in the air to dissipate the force of the punch. After spitting out a mouthful of blood, he landed steadily on the ground and frowned at Zhao Tianxing. Zhao Tianxing cupped his fists and said with a smile, "Thanks for letting me win, junior brother Lu. What fist technique is brother Zhao using?" Chu Li scoffed. "Great demon taming fist," Zhao Tianxing declared proudly. Chu Li frowned. "You're not afraid of the Philip Swift Thunder? The great demon subduing fist can restrain all strange powers. It is neutral and peaceful, and no evil cannot subdue it." Zhao Tianxing smiled. "I know that you cultivate Philip Swift Thunder, so of course I've thought of a way to counter it." Chu Li scoffed. "Could it be that the Philip Swift Thunder can't break the great demon fist?" "Not unless you've mastered Philip Swift Thunder to perfection," Zhao Tianxing said. Chu Li nodded. "All right, I've lost," Zhao Tianxing said. "Junior brother Lu, you've actually almost defeated me." Chu Li curled his lips into a sneer and glared at him. Zhao Tianxing grinned. "You've only been in the outer cliff for more than 10 days, but you're already so powerful. There's indeed hope for you to enter the inner cliff." "I'll enter," Chu Li scoffed. Zhao Tianxing said, "Outer cliff disciples can choose 4 martial arts for free. Since you've chosen 2, you can choose another 2. Who knows, you might be able to defeat me." Chu Li snorted. "I will." Zhao Tianxing glanced at the other 3 and cupped his fists. "All of you must work hard too. Don't fall too far behind junior brother Lu." "Yes." He Shu and the other 2 immediately cupped their fists. Zhao Tianxing walked away slowly. His green robe fluttered in the wind, making him look handsome. Chu Li gritted his teeth and lowered his head to look at his fingers and the long sword that had not been sheathed. He Shu and the other 2 surrounded him. "Junior brother Lu, you're amazing." He Shu sighed. "You're really close," Chu Li said. "It might seem close, but it's actually far from it. I can't break through his inner energy at all. I can't do anything to him with my sword technique or inner energy. There's no hope at all." Zhao Tianxing is the youth champion. How can he be defeated so easily? Zhang Yi smiled. "It's not easy to fight to this extent. Let's take it slow." Chu Li scoffed. "If we take it slow, we'll fall further behind." "What should we do then?" Zhang Yi was indifferent. "Our heart technique can't compare to his." Chu Li shook his head without saying a word. Sun Jia had been deep in thought and was deeply touched. He looked up and asked, "Junior brother Lu, what's your plan? Are you going to choose 2 more martial arts?" Chu Li shook his head. "I want to master my sword technique and finger technique." "That's true." Sun Jia nodded. Chu Li cupped his fists and bid farewell to the 3 before he returned to his room to continue cultivating. Just as he sat down, footsteps were heard. Lu Jingjun had entered. Chu Li looked up at him. Lu Jingjun asked, "You lost?" Chu Li nodded. Lu Jingjun smiled. Zhao Tianxing won't be defeated that easily. He encountered Chu Li the last time he came out of the cliff and was greatly stimulated. After he came back, he went into isolated cultivation and improved his martial arts greatly. He's truly the youth champion now. Chu Li fell silent. Chu Li was not surprised that Zhao Tianxing's cultivation level had improved greatly. Geniuses like him had always improved quickly. For example, Chu Li, Lu Yurong, and Fa Yuan had improved tremendously. However, Chu Li did not expect Zhao Tianxing to be stimulated by him. This was interesting. "What's your plan?" "I want to continue cultivating the great heaven-deriving sword and Philip Swift Thunder to perfect mastery." Chu Li frowned. "Will I be able to defeat Zhao Tianxing then? Instead of perfect mastery, why don't you start cultivating 2 new martial arts?" Lu Jingjun suggested. "It'll save you energy. It's the hardest before perfect mastery. It might take a year, 2 years, or even 8 to 10 years. It was difficult to achieve perfect mastery in heaven and earth. This was the way of heaven and earth. The effort needed to achieve perfect mastery was unimaginable. I want to take this path, Chu Li said. All right. Lu Jingjun did not force Chu Li. It was necessary for a powerhouse to face difficulties head-on. He was satisfied with Chu Li's choice. But I won't be able to help much if you continue cultivating, Lu Jingjun said. My Philip Swift Thunder is about the same level as yours, so you'll have to figure it out yourself. The great heaven-deriving sword can continue to help you. I want to spar with more masters, Chu Li said. Then you can only accumulate external cultivation, Lu Jingjun said. Chu Li frowned. Can't I spar with inner cliff disciples? Outer cliff disciples can only stay here, they can't enter the inner cliff, Lu Jingjun said. Inner cliff disciples can come here, but outer cliff disciples can't. Isn't that unfair? Chapter 1192. Sigh. That's a huge favor. Lu Jingjun shook his head and sighed. Chu Li said, the more martial arts the great heaven-deriving sword comes into contact with, the faster it progresses. All right, I'll try, Lu Jingjun said. He was hesitant, but when he saw how determined Chu Li was, he decided to give it a try. If the others left in disappointment after exchanging blows with him, he could only blame himself for not living up to expectations. Chu Li did a fist salute and did not say anything else. He closed his eyes and continued to cultivate. The heart technique of Philip Swift Thunder circulated from the first level all the way to the 6th level. Then, he repeated the cycle until he reached the 6th level in one go. Normally, a normal person could only cultivate one level because the route of one level was already very complicated. Completing one circulation was already very draining, and completing 6 levels in one go would consume an unimaginable amount of energy. Although Chu Li could not use the omniscient mirror here, and his mental energy could only be trapped inside his body, it was still strong enough for him to complete a few rounds in one go. He realized that this cultivation method was mysterious. Compared to cultivating a single level alone, it was much more efficient, and his level of attainment was also extremely fast. His Philip Swift Thunder inner energy was getting purer, and he progressed faster than usual. To him, Philip Swift Thunder was actually a shortcut. For those with strong mental energy, it would be a piece of cake, but for those with weak mental energy, it would be a form of torture. As compared to those with strong mental energy, their cultivation speed was like that of a tortoise or a rabbit. While he was cultivating, he was multitasking and thinking about the great heaven-deriving sword. The great heaven-deriving sword could be used together with the nature restoration manifestation, which was more effective. The omniscient mirror was a divine power, so it could not be used here. On the other hand, the nature restoration manifestation was not a divine power, but a peculiar heart technique that only worked internally and not externally, so it could be used freely. On the evening of the second day, 2 young men came to exchange blows with Chu Li. Their swordsmanship was exquisite, and their level of attainment was profound. Chu Li tried to combine the nature restoration manifestation with the great heaven-deriving sword technique, and his power increased tremendously. After more than 10 moves, the 2 men were defeated, so Chu Li asked them to join forces. The 2 hesitated for a while, but they still lost to Chu Li. The 2 of them stared at Chu Li in shock after they sheathed their swords. They did not expect him to have cultivated the great heaven-deriving sword to such an extent. The swordsmanship of the great heaven-deriving sword was too complicated and difficult to cultivate, but it was even more difficult to put it to use. One had to learn thousands of moves. When facing an enemy, thousands of moves flashed through the mind of an ordinary person. How could he decide which move to use? So, it became a burden and was even worse than the most basic swordsmanship. Therefore, the most important factor in practicing the great heaven-deriving sword was talent. Only extremely smart people could have a chance of practicing it and using it. Forcing oneself to practice it would be a waste of effort. The disciples of Green Deer Cliff were all smart people, but he was the only one who had practiced the great heaven-deriving sword for nearly 100 years. Chuli was too lazy to say anything else. The more he spoke, the more mistakes he would make. He just gave a fist salute and turned around to return to his house. From the next morning onward, more and more inner cliff disciples came to practice their swordsmanship with Chuli. Chuli did not lose any of them. The combination of the great heaven-deriving sword and the nature restoration manifestation made him almost invincible. He, Shu, and the other two were excited. At this rate, Chuli could defeat everyone and become an inner cliff disciple. However, Chuli knew that these young disciples were not top-notch masters. Some of them had just joined the sect not long ago and came to join in the fun. People like Zhao Tianxing were the real obstacles that would be difficult to overcome. It would be difficult for him to defeat Zhao Tianxing with the great heaven-deriving sword. He could only pin his hopes on Philip Swift Thunder. Fortunately, his progress in Philip Swift Thunder was extremely fast. 10 days later, in the evening, the sun was setting and the sky was filled with the afterglow. Chuli and Zhao Tianxing stood on the martial arts field again and looked at each other. Zhao Tianxing's green robe fluttered in the wind. He looked at Chuli and smiled. "Junior brother Liu, have you perfected Philip Swift Thunder?" "Yes," Chuli replied. "So you're saying that you're confident of winning?" Zhao Tianxing asked. Chuli replied, "I can only try." "All right." Zhao Tianxing smiled. "We don't have to compete with sword techniques. I'll use fist techniques while you use finger technique. Let's see if you can defeat me." Chuli shook his head. "Let's compete with sword techniques." "It seems like you're very confident in your sword techniques," Zhao Tianxing said. Chuli nodded slowly. "I've improved a little." "All right, let's begin." Zhao Tianxing was barehanded and had no intention of drawing his sword. Chuli ignored him. He drew his sword out of its scabbard and struck out after a bow. Zhao Tianxing used dancing crane technique right away and glided backward. He maintained the same distance from the tip of the sword as if he was being pushed away by the sword technique. Chuli had already understood the mystery of dancing crane technique. His body was like a feather, empty, clear, and light. There was only a trace of clear energy in his body and nothing else. There was no profound inner energy flowing in his body, and he was only relying on a trace of energy to control his body. It was no different from a string pulling his body. This was the mystery of dancing crane ninth heaven heart technique. Without the spirit crane technique and dancing crane ninth heaven, one's body would not be full of clear energy and no turbid energy. One would not be able to cultivate dancing crane technique, so it was useless for outsiders to learn it. This trace of energy sensing did not fall on the sword but on Chuli. His opponent could sense it as soon as he thought about it. It was like the intuition of a grandmaster, but it was sharper. It was similar to his eye of insight, but it was shallower and had a narrower range, but it was clearer. His eye of insight could sense the fluctuations of emotions and thoughts, but dancing crane technique could only sense the changes in the body's energy. Chuli had a way to deal with it now that he understood the principle. In terms of controlling his body, he had the omniscient mirror, which allowed him to control his body subtly. Although the omniscient mirror could not be spread out of his body due to the suppression of Green Deer Cliff's Heaven and God Pill, it could be used on his own body. He looked no different from his usual self as he suppressed Zhao Tianxing with one strike after another. Zhao Tianxing could only retreat without any chance to fight back as he retreated step by step. All of a sudden, Chuli took a step forward and dispersed his inner energy halfway through his long sword. Then, he used his body to drive the sword and thrust it forward. Chuli had consumed the giant spirit pill and wind speed pill, so he had immense strength and incredible speed. Although his sword was not as fast as it was driven by inner energy, it was still far faster than a grandmaster's. Moreover, the direction of his sword was exquisite. Zhao Tianxing relied too much on dancing crane technique, so he suddenly lost his senses and stopped reacting. Hence, Chu Li's sword stabbed his shoulder. Bang! Zhao Tianxing's palm hit the sword and he glided backward. His face darkened. Chu Li sheathed his sword and gave a fist salute. Thank you for letting me win, senior brother Zhao. Zhao Tianxing frowned and glared at him. Chu Li stared back at him, unwilling to be outdone. He Shu and the other two were dumbfounded. After a while, Chu Li asked, Senior brother Zhao, do you want to have a rematch? No. Zhao Tianxing replied. You've indeed won. From tomorrow onward, you can go to the challenge ring. Challenge ring? He Shu quickly asked, Senior brother Zhao, what challenge ring? Don't tell me you think you can enter the inner cliff just because you've defeated me? Zhao Tianxing scoffed. Isn't senior brother Zhao the youth champion? He Shu asked. Zhao Tianxing shook his head. It's useless to say that. You'll only know after you fight. You'll have to go to the challenge ring for 3 days and someone will challenge you. If you can defeat everyone, you can enter the inner cliff. Chapter 1193. As He Shu and the other two watched Zhao Tianxing leave, they dashed toward Chu Li excitedly as they were overjoyed. Zhang Ye bounced his chubby body and danced with joy as he laughed out loud. I'm going to the inner cliff. I'm going to the inner cliff. Chu Li shook his head calmly. I haven't passed the challenge stage. Junior brother Lu, you've defeated senior brother Zhao Tianxing. Who else can defeat you? You'll succeed. Zhang Ye exclaimed excitedly. The inner cliff. The inner cliff. The inner cliff. The inner cliff. Chu Li replied, The inner cliff isn't that great, I don't have that much freedom. If you want freedom, you'll have to master your martial arts. If your martial arts aren't good, you won't be free no matter where you go, whether you're dead or alive. He Shu shook his head and chuckled. Junior brother Lu, why aren't you happy at all? Chu Li replied, It's only natural, there's nothing to be happy about. Ha ha. He Shu laughed out loud. Great, that's a great spirit. Sun Jia smiled. Junior brother Lu, wait for us in the inner cliff. We'll go in too. Chu Li nodded. Zhang Ye quickly waved his hand. Don't, senior brother Sun, I can't go in. I can't defeat someone like senior brother Zhao. Look at how useless you are. Sun Jia grumbled. Zhang Ye replied, One must be down to earth. I'm already satisfied that I'm able to enter the outer cliff. It's impossible for me to enter the inner cliff. I won't have wishful thinking and torture myself. In short, happiness is the most important thing in the inner cliff or the outer cliff. No wonder you're so fat. Sun Jia scoffed. Chu Li fist saluted and returned to his house to continue cultivating Philip's swift thunder. Since he had overcome the dancing crane technique, he did not use Philip's swift thunder, but he knew he had to rely on it during crucial moments. Since he had a deep understanding of the petrifying finger, he was particularly enthusiastic about cultivating Philip's swift thunder. At dawn the next day, just as Ou Yangming completed a full circulation of Philip's swift thunder and walked through the first 6 levels, Lu Jingjun strode into the house and waved his hand. Let's go to the challenge ring. The challenge stage was located at the easternmost precipice of the island. The cliff was like a long sword that pierced the sky. It was more than 200 meters tall and was more than 60 floors high. It towered majestically. A circular platform was built under the stone wall, which was usually used for sacrificial ceremonies. Ascending from the outer cliff to the inner cliff was a big event that had to be announced to the ancestors. That was why the challenge was held here. More than 500 people stood below the stage, and Chu Li was amazed. He did not expect there to be so many people in Green Deer Cliff. He thought there were only a few dozen of them. After all, they had never shown themselves to the world, which gave him the impression that there were not many people. Almost all of them were young and middle-aged, with only a few elderly people. He noticed that the disciples of Green Deer Cliff were skilled in maintaining their youthful looks. Even though they were more than 100 years old, they still looked like they were in their 40s. Only those who were more than 200 years old showed signs of aging, with their hair and eyebrows all white. As for those who were more than 300 years old, they rarely showed themselves, so he had no chance to meet them. An old man with a white beard and eyebrows stood on the stage and said a few words in a deep voice. It was nothing more than an outer cliff disciple finally stepping into the inner cliff, which was a great event worthy of celebration. As long as he succeeded in the challenge, he would be the first outer cliff disciple to step into the inner cliff in 100 years and would become a pillar of Green Deer Cliff. As an elder of Green Deer Cliff, he sincerely wished him success in the challenge. Then, Chuli stepped onto the stage and looked down at the crowd. He gave a fist salute and said, "Senior brothers, please give me your guidance." His gaze swept across the crowd below the stage, and he discovered that most of the young disciples he had met once before and had already sparred with. After a while, a tall and thin young man glided onto the stage. He was stabbed in the shoulder by Chuli in a few moves and was forced off the stage. After that, no one else stepped onto the stage to challenge him. It was different from what everyone had expected. It was not as lively and exciting as they had expected. It was as if no one was interested in challenging him, or they were working together to help him pass. The old man with a white beard and eyebrows stepped onto the stage again. He looked down at the crowd and said, "Disciples, you should know the rules. If young Lu enters the inner cliff, all of you will be fined a year's salary and have a year's supply of pills deducted. Think about this carefully." The crowd looked at him helplessly. They could tell that Honorable Master Ning thought they were going easy on him and that they were giving in to Masters Junior Lu on purpose. However, he did not know that most of them had witnessed Chu Li's great heaven-deriving sword technique and were no match for him. Even if they had other martial arts, they would not be able to win against the great heaven-deriving sword technique. Since Zhao Tianxing was no match for him, they did not have to waste their time. From now on, come up one by one. Everyone must fight with young Lu. Ning Tsai, who had a white beard and eyebrows, scoffed. "Zhao Tianxing, you go first." Zhao Tianxing gave a fist salute. "Honorable Master Ning, I fought with him yesterday and was injured." He pointed at his right shoulder to indicate that he could not fight. "Did you really lose to young Lu?" "Yes. His great heaven-deriving sword technique is very exquisite. I was no match for him." "You weren't careless, were you?" Zhao Tianxing shook his head. "Indeed, I was no match for him. Honorable Master Ning, you can take a look at his sword technique. Junior Brother Su, you can go and have a try." A handsome young man gave a fist salute and glided onto the stage to stand in front of Chu Li. Ning Tsai glanced at Chu Li, then at Zhao Tianxing. He frowned and remained silent. In terms of cultivation alone, Chu Li's cultivation level was still slightly lower than Zhao Tianxing's. If Ning Tsai had not cultivated the great heaven-deriving sword, he would have suspected that Zhao Tianxing had lost on purpose to help Lu Guangdi enter the inner cliff. Nonetheless, the ancestors were wise enough to prevent such a situation. Junior Brother Su met Chu Li's sword technique with his fist and palm. Combining the nature restoration manifestation and the great heaven-deriving sword, Junior Brother Su was forced to use the dancing crane technique after more than 20 moves. However, his dancing crane technique was not as powerful as Zhao Tianxing's, so it was soon countered by Chu Li and his shoulder was injured. Ning Tsai was shocked when he looked at Chu Li. Then, he turned to look at Lu Xingjun, who was standing in a corner as calm as still water. Lu Xingjuan's illegitimate son was truly a genius. He was the first person in 100 years to be able to use the great heaven-deriving sword to this extent. It was no wonder that Zhao Tianxing and the others were defeated. It would be very difficult to win against such a powerful great heaven-deriving sword. Subsequently, more than 100 young disciples went up to the stage one by one to exchange blows with Chu Li. Chu Li did not rest at all. His great heaven-deriving sword became more and more powerful. Initially, it was more than 20 moves. Later on, it was more than 10 moves, a few moves, and even 3 moves. Chu Li fought from dawn to noon. When the sun was at its zenith, he had completed all the challenges. The next stage is the Conscience Hall. Ning Tsai landed on the stage and announced, "The top 10 disciples will enter the Conscience Hall." Yes. Zhao Tianxing and the others gave him a fist salute. They knew that they would have to go to the Conscience Hall to answer whether Chu Li had deliberately given in. If there was no problem, Lu Guangdi would become an inner cliff disciple. Chu Li followed the others to the base of the stone wall. Then, he used his light body technique to climb up. The stone wall was covered with slippery moss, but it could not stop them from ascending. Everyone climbed up the stone wall in one go. When they arrived at the peak, they saw a small thatched hut in the middle of a few rocks. The simple and old thatched hut looked like it would be blown away by the wind or broken by the rain at any time. Under Ning Tsai's lead, the 11 of them slowly walked to the front of the thatched hut. Ning Tsai said, "Masters Junior Hua, I've brought him here. Come in." A weathered voice came from inside. Chu Li and the others pushed open the simple door and slowly entered. It was clean and bright inside. It was as warm as spring. It was as if they were in another world. An old man with white hair and a ruddy complexion sat on the wooden floor. His round face was as rosy as a baby's, and his eyes were bright. When he glanced at them, it was as if he could see through everything. "Masters Junior Hua, this is the new inner cliff disciple, Lu Guangdi," Ning Tsai said respectfully with a fist salute. It's been 100 years, right?" Masters Junior Hua asked gently. Honorable Master Ning nodded. "Young Lu, take a seat." Masters Junior Hua pointed at a cattail hassock opposite him. Chapter 1194. However, there was no turning back now. He slowly inhaled and exhaled, then sat on the cattail hassock. "Close your eyes," Masters Junior Hua said in a deep voice. Chu Li closed his eyes. Masters Junior Hua took out a stone from his pocket. It was black like an ink stone, but it was faintly shining with a strange brilliance. He pinched the stone and slowly closed his eyes. The others widened their eyes and stared at him without blinking. They had all gone through this stage and knew that the next step was to fall into an illusion. They would remember their most profound scene, and when they woke up, they would have completed the step of questioning their hearts. It would be like a dream, and they would not remember what they asked. They saw that the black stone was getting brighter and brighter. The black light slowly spread and surrounded them. Then, they slowly fell into a beautiful dream. Gradually, they did not know where they were. Then, they entered the deepest and most profound scene of their lives. After some time, when they woke up, Chu Li was already standing in front of Masters Junior Hua, fist saluting. Masters Junior Hua frowned and looked at Chu Li thoughtfully. Previously, when he used the heart-questioning stone, anyone within a mile of the stone would enter a dream. Then, they would open up their hearts and accept his interrogation. He was able to enter the other party's dream and see everything clearly, as if he was experiencing it himself. This was the beauty of the heart-questioning stone. It was mysterious and unpredictable. It was said that it did not belong to this world, but came from Outland. As for Lu Guangdi, the dream he entered was the scene of his mother's death. Furthermore, his father appeared as well. This showed how much he hated and pestered his father, Lu Jingjun. Lu Guangdi was grateful for the primary heaven pill he gave him as compensation, but at the same time, he hated his father's heartlessness towards his mother and his lack of gratitude towards him. Lu Guangdi wanted to master his martial arts and defeat his father so that he could live the rest of his life proudly and make his mother proud. This scene was very normal, so he did not think there was anything wrong with it. However, He felt that something was wrong. It was as if there was something wrong with Lu Guangdi's state of mind, but he could not figure out what was wrong. However, this feeling made him very cautious. This was the first time in hundreds of years. He believed in the mysteriousness of the conscience stone. Wherever it went, no one could resist. Even if it was the headmaster, he wouldn't be able to resist. Therefore, as the owner of the conscience stone, he swore that he would never leave this cliff. He had been staying on the cliff and inside the thatched cottage. His heart was pure and calm. He was extremely meticulous and sensitive. Even the slightest abnormality could not escape his senses. He felt that something was wrong with Chuli. Although he could not pinpoint it, he believed in his intuition. All of you may leave. Ning Tsai waved his hand and said, I have something to say to Marshal Uncle Hua. Yes. Everyone cupped their fists and left the thatched cottage, fluttering down the precipice. Chuli frowned. He could tell that there was something wrong with Marshal Uncle Hua. Obviously, he had discovered that there was something wrong with him. The conscience-questioning stone was mysterious and unfathomable. A strange force was about to knock him out, but at the crucial moment, Mahavairocana's immobility scripture and earth matrix and reincarnation scripture were activated as well. As a result, all the abnormalities disappeared. Chuli imitated the people around him and pretended to be in a dream. He then tried his best to imitate Master's immobility scripture and earth matrix and reincarnation scripture. Although ordinary people would not be able to tell, he could not guarantee that he could fool Master's immobility scripture. He realized that Master's immobility scripture was an expert in the cultivation of soul power. Master's immobility scripture and earth matrix and reincarnation scripture were very sensitive. It was Chuli's first time meeting such a difficult person. If it was not for Mahavairocana's immobility scripture and earth matrix and reincarnation scripture, he would not be able to escape from the interrogation. Chuli tried his best to imitate Master's immobility scripture, but imitation was imitation. He might be able to fool ordinary people, but he might not be able to fool Master's immobility scripture. Junior brother Lu, congratulations! Zhao Tianxing patted Chuli's shoulder and chuckled. You're the first person to enter the inner cliff from the outer cliff in 100 years. Although everyone was punished, I'm still very happy. Chuli glanced at him and said, I'm really sorry, senior brothers. But can I enter the inner cliff? I wonder what happened to Conscience Hall. Don't worry. If there's anything wrong with you, you'd have been restrained long ago. We wouldn't have to wait for you to wake up. Zhao Tianxing grinned. Moreover, you're Master's immobility scripture's son. We're family. Him? Chuli's face turned cold. He turned around and left. Zhao Tianxing looked at him helplessly. Chuli changed his attitude too quickly. He's obviously a spoiled brat. God's favored one, what a bad temper. Lu Jingjun approached him and smiled when he looked at Chuli. Chuli said, I want to go back. Where? The outer cliff. You're an inner cliff disciple now. Why are you going to the outer cliff? Lu Jingjun frowned. Chuli replied, I want to go back and take a look. Go ahead. Lu Jingjun waved his hand. Do you know the way? Chuli nodded. It was similar to how there was a formation to enter the inner cliff from the outer cliff, but there was no formation to enter the outer cliff from the inner cliff. Lu Jingjun watched as Chuli disappeared before he turned to face Ning Tsai. Ning Tsai looked at him and shook his head. No. Lu Jingjuan's expression changed. Masters Junior Ning, what do you mean? Young Lu didn't pass Conscience Hall, so he can't enter the inner cliff, Ning Tsai said. What? Didn't pass Conscience Hall? Lu Jingjun was in disbelief. How's that possible? Why is it impossible? Ning Tsai asked. Let me ask you, how often do you see him? Once a year, Lu Jingjun answered. Ning Tsai asked, did you notice anything strange about him? Strange? Lu Jingjun frowned. He's been staying in Tide Listening Pavilion and often cultivates in isolation. He cultivated with all his might to get to where he is today, and he's the most hard-working among my children. But there's something wrong with him. Ning Tsai shook his head. Masters Junior Hua said that it's not appropriate for him to enter the inner cliff, and that he should be an outer cliff disciple. Lu Jingjun quickly asked, "What's wrong?" Ning Tsai answered, "Masters Junior Hua can't say for sure, it's purely his intuition, and Masters Junior Hua's intuition is very accurate. No, I won't accept it if I don't get to the bottom of this." Lu Jingjun shook his head. He suffered so much to enter the inner cliff, and now that he's finally going to enter, how can he be told that he can't? That's too torturous. Ning Tsai questioned, "Can you change Masters Junior Hua's decision?" "But even Masters Junior Hua can't do that, we have to get to the bottom of this." Lu Jingjun uttered, "No, I have to look for Masters Junior Hua. Go if you don't want to give up." Ning Tsai shook his head. "You can't change Masters Junior Hua's decision." "I want to try." Lu Jingjun scoffed. He cupped his fists and went up to the thatched cottage at the top of the stone wall, then knocked on the door before entering. Masters Junior Hua was sitting on the wooden board with his eyes closed as if he was asleep. Activating the conscience stone consumed a lot of mental energy, and he had experienced 12 of their dreams, so he was on the verge of falling asleep. Lu Jingjun sat opposite Masters Junior Hua and did a fist salute. "Masters Junior Hua, may I ask what's wrong with my son?" "How about this, ask him to come again tomorrow," Masters Junior Hua said. Chapter 1195. When Chuli did not see Lu Jingjun for a while, he knew something was wrong. Green Deer Cliff might start to suspect his identity. The best thing to do was to escape right away so that nobody would be able to find him. If Green Deer Cliff made a move, they might be able to catch him. Nonetheless, it was a pity that things had come to this. Chuli still had God's limbs, so he could leave as soon as things went south. However, he soon realized that he could not use God's limbs, so he had to rely on his martial arts to escape. Although he was not invincible in the world, Green Deer Cliff had many crouching tigers and hidden dragons and countless experts. However, in a sudden situation, he might be able to put up a fight and escape, right? He was not confident at all. After all, Green Deer Cliff was one of the 4 major sects and had many tricks up their sleeve. What exactly caused him to suspect something? Was there something wrong with the dream that he imagined? Chuli pondered. He was envious of the conscience stone. Not only could the stone read one's mind, but it could also be used to control enemies. By activating it, one could pull enemies within a mile into the dream and kill them in the dream. Would that not be the end of everything? It would not be an assassination. Unfortunately, he could only think about it. He dared not steal the stone or he would be hunted down by the entire Green Deer Cliff. If there was a next time, how should he deal with the conscience stone? Should he activate the life and death scripture again and hide all his martial arts? Or should he hypnotize himself and let his guard down so that he would be able to react freely once he was hypnotized? During dinner, Lu Jingjun did not show up as if he had forgotten about this place. Chuli calmed down and was not anxious at all. He Shu and the other 2 joined him. The 4 of them gathered around a stone table in the forest, sitting on a tree stump and eating. "Junior brother Lu, you're going to enter the inner cliff. Congratulations," He Shu praised, "the first person in 100 years. You have a bright future. We'll be counting on you to take care of us in the future." Chuli shook his head. "I'm afraid I won't be able to enter." "Is there a more powerful opponent?" He Shu asked. Chuli replied, "It's hard to say. You'll find out in the future." He did not know if the existence of Conscience Hall was kept a secret, so he did not want to bring trouble upon himself. "Why can't you tell me?" Zhang Ye asked anxiously. "Won't you be able to enter the inner cliff if you defeat all the young disciples?" "There's one more stage," Chuli said. Everyone, don't ask what this stage is. All right, I won't ask, he Shu hurriedly said. Footsteps were heard as Lu Jingjun hurried over. Come with me tomorrow, I have something to ask you. All right, Chu Li lowered his head and said. Lu Jingjun looked at him, then shook his head and left in a hurry. He Shu and the other two sensed the solemn atmosphere and did not say anything. They quietly finished their meal and left. The next morning, Chu Li followed Lu Jingjun to Conscience Hall. The bright sunshine shone on the cliff. The thatched cottage exuded a serene aura under the sunlight, as if time had stopped here. Marshal Uncle Hua was sitting on the white jade bed in front of the house, lazily basking in the sun. He looked relaxed and content. When he saw the two of them coming over, he just smiled and pointed to the opposite side. The two of them sat on the rectangular stone opposite him. The wind and frost had polished the stone until it was smooth and round, and it was very comfortable to sit on. Grandmaster. Lu Jingjun did a fist salute. Hua Tianyang waved his hand. Sit, don't talk. Chu Li did a fist salute. Hua Tianyang carefully took out the heart-questioning stone and activated it again. This time, the conscience stone emitted a more threatening black light, which soon enveloped Chu Li. Then, Chu Li began to feel dizzy, but he was still slightly conscious. Hua Tianyang suddenly stopped and pointed at Chu Li's chest. Jingjun, go and see what's on his chest. Lu Jingjun quickly pulled Chu Li's collar and noticed a white jade pendant. He frowned. Grandmaster, is this it? Take it off, Hua Tianyang quickly said. Lu Jingjun used his index and middle fingers to cut the string that tied the jade pendant. Then, he took the white jade pendant and looked at it. His expression kept changing, and finally, he sighed. Give it to me, Hua Tianyang said. Lu Jingjun handed it over with both hands. Grandmaster, his mother left this for him. It's not an ordinary item, no wonder. Hua Tianyang sighed. It has the ability to calm one's mind, which can resist the effect of Conscience Hall. It has such a magical effect? Lu Jingjun was stunned. Hua Tianyang explained. This pendant doesn't look eye-catching, but it's invaluable. Normally, it can only be used to cultivate for an hour, but if one cultivates with this pendant, they'll be able to extend their time by an hour. Moreover, they won't be possessed by the devil. It's a treasure. No wonder he's fine even though he's cultivating so crazily. Lu Jingjun came to a sudden realization. He looked at the white jade pendant and shook his head. He really did not expect this. Chu Li was still in a daze as if he was dreaming. Hua Tianyang said, Protect me, I'll go in and take a look. Yes. Lu Jingjun nodded. Hua Tianyang held the conscience stone tightly in his right hand and placed his left index finger in between Chu Li's eyebrows. He shuddered and was instantly drawn into Chu Li's dream. After experiencing the previous scene, he retracted his finger and held the conscience stone tightly. He was still in the dream, but he was still conscious. He asked Chu Li questions such as, Do you hate your father? Do you have ill intentions towards Green Deer Cliff? Do you have any masters before this? Who are they? Why did you enter Green Deer Cliff? Chu Li answered all of them. Once he was done, Hua Tianyang let go of the conscience stone and put it back into his pocket. He frowned as he looked at Chu Li. His mind was clear, and the uneasiness disappeared. Hua Tianyang could not help but look at the white jade pendant in Lu Jingjun's pocket. He nodded as he understood the reason. It was because of the white jade pendant. The jade pendant could keep one's mind clear even if one was in a dream and would not be invaded by evil thoughts. Since the jade pendant had such an effect, Chu Li could not be lured into Green Deer Cliff's inner cliff by someone with ill intentions. Honorable Master, how is it? Lu Jingjun asked. Hua Tianyang answered, You can enter the inner cliff. Thank you, Honorable Master. Lu Jingjun was overjoyed. He stood up and bowed. Hua Tianyang waved his hand. I see, it's all because of this jade pendant. You must take good care of it, don't lose it. Yes. Lu Jingjun nodded. After some thought, he kept the jade pendant in his pocket. Hua Tianyang smiled without saying a word. Chu Li slowly woke up. Lu Jingjun smiled. Hurry up and thank Honorable Master Hua, you've passed. Chu Li was stunned, then he gave a fist salute. Hua Tianyang waved his hand. Congratulations, from now on, you're an Inner Cliff disciple of Green Deer Cliff. Cultivate well, you're more intelligent than others, you'll become an outstanding person in Green Deer Cliff. Yes. Chu Li nodded calmly. Hua Tianyang waved his hand. Go go. Lu Jingjun bowed again, then led Chu Li down the cliff. Then, he laughed out loud. The first person in 100 years. His illegitimate son really lived up to his expectations. He became the first person in 100 years. Chu Li reached out his hand. Lu Jingjun was stunned. Chu Li uttered, "The jade pendant." Lu Jingjun said, "I'll keep it for you, you won't need it now anyway." Chu Li frowned at him. Chapter 1196. Chu Li looked askance at him and scoffed, then he carefully kept the jade pendant in his pocket. Of course, he knew the origin of the jade pendant. However, he used a special technique to change the jade pendant, which was why it had such a magical effect. The original jade pendant did not have such a function. He did this to dispel Hua Tianyang's concerns. After he left Conscience Hall yesterday, he had been thinking of various ways to pass the second round. He wanted to deceive the others, which was why he came up with the jade pendant. He hypnotized himself and created the jade pendant to divert his attention. He was lucky enough to pass the round. You're an Inner Cliff disciple now, follow me, Lu Jingjun said. Chu Li nodded. Lu Jingjun brought Yangming up the mountain. Once they passed through a forest, they were greeted by rows upon rows of pavilions and pavilions. They had overhanging eaves and suspended corners, which gave off an antique vibe. It was vast and magnificent. Each of the buildings was about 100 meters tall and towered into the sky. Chu Li felt like he was in Jianan City, which was even more magnificent and beautiful than Jianan City. This place was like heaven and earth compared to the forest at the outer cliff. It was like the difference between the Fu dynasty's capital, Jianan City, and a remote mountain village. Lu Jingjun smiled when he saw Chu Li's eyes widen. The outer cliff is to allow everyone to focus on their cultivation without being disturbed by worldly matters. In the inner cliff, we don't have to worry about worldly matters. Even though it's so luxurious, we can still focus on our cultivation. Chu Li nodded. Lu Jingjun said, "You can walk around and admire the scenery when you're free. It's more magnificent than Fairy's capital. This is a building that has been passed down for thousands of years. It's incomparable to Fairy's capital." Chu Li shook his head. "Where do I stay? I want to cultivate the spirit crane technique as soon as possible." "Alright." Lu Jingjun nodded approvingly. "It seems like you have a brave and diligent heart. Very well, come with me." He brought Chu Li along a small cobblestone path, passing through a quaint and magnificent building before arriving at an elegant and exquisite courtyard. The plum tree in the courtyard was vigorous and strong, as thick as a muscular arm. The faint fragrance of plum blossoms filled the courtyard. "This is your residence." Lu Jingjun smiled. "How is it? How does it feel?" "Not bad, not bad." Chu Li nodded absent-mindedly. "I live alone?" "Yes." Lu Jingjun explained, "This way we won't disturb each other's cultivation. There are people in the courtyards next to you. To your east is Zhao Tianxing, whereas to your west is Su Zhiguang. They're both top-notch figures among the Inner Cliff disciples." Chu Li nodded. "When can I start cultivating the spirit crane technique?" "Tomorrow." Lu Jingjun said, "Your waist tag will be issued tomorrow, and you'll be able to enter the sutra library with it. You'll be able to practice any martial arts you want, but don't bite off more than you can chew." Chu Li breathed a sigh of relief. "Take a rest and practice your Philip Swift Thunder." This finger technique is very ingenious, and it can turn the tide of a battle during crucial moments, Lu Jingjun said. Chu Li nodded. Lu Jingjun responded, "It's time for me to cultivate in isolation too. Now that you've entered the inner cliff, I've fulfilled my wish and can cultivate in isolation without any worries. You should be able to handle the rest." Chu Li wanted to say something but hesitated. He only nodded slowly. Lu Jingjun smiled, then waved his hand and left. Chu Li frowned as he watched his silhouette disappear through the door. He sighed. Lu Jingjun finally left, or else Chu Li would always feel uneasy and burdened. He sat by the stone table under the plum tree, took a deep breath, and smiled. His efforts were not in vain. He had finally entered the inner cliff and was able to learn the spirit crane technique. He had taken a solid step on the path to becoming an enlightened master. Chu Li was overjoyed when he thought about this, and he could not wait to return to the High Duke's public house to carry Shao Qi and spin her around to celebrate. Nonetheless, he dared not act recklessly since he was in the inner cliff, which was closer to the heaven and God pill. Thus, he could only endure it and try not to return for a while. He would learn the spirit crane technique first. Ha ha! Zhao Tianxing stood at the door and gave a fist salute as he laughed. Chu Li did a fist salute. He realized that the Zhao Tianxing inside Green Deer Cliff was completely different from the Zhao Tianxing outside Green Deer Cliff. Zhao Tianxing was frank and generous, and there was no trace of hostility or wariness like before. Instead, Zhao Tianxing was more open. "Junior brother Lu, we're really in the same sect now." Zhao Tianxing smiled. "Ask me anything you don't understand. I'll tell you everything I know." Chu Li gave a fist salute. "Thank you, senior brother Zhao. Junior brother Lu, you'll be the youth champion in the future. I'll have to curry favor with you." Zhao Tianxing smiled. Chu Li shook his head. "You flatter me. Anyone who enters the inner cliff from the outer cliff is the youth champion. Junior brother Lu, you won't be an exception. However, I won't admit defeat. I'll work hard to catch up to you." Zhao Tianxing said. Chu Li said, "Great. You're chasing after me. It's quite interesting." "That's right," Zhao Tianxing said. "I've always been chased by my senior and junior brothers. Now I finally have to chase after someone else. How interesting." Chu Li smiled. Zhao Tianxing soon left. Chu Li unsheathed his sword and began to cultivate the great heaven-deriving sword. He wanted to integrate the great heaven-deriving sword into his original sword technique. This way, he could balance speed and subtlety. It would be extremely difficult, but if he succeeded, the power of his sword technique would be astonishing. After practicing his sword technique for a while, he began to cultivate Philip Swift Thunder. Time flowed like water. In the blink of an eye, it was the next day. Early in the morning, when he was practicing his sword technique, Zhao Tianxing came to him again and handed him a wooden tag. The wood was made of a strange material. It was unusually hard and emitted a faint fragrance. Chu Li had the all-knowing scripture, so his sense of smell was unusually sharp. With this wooden tag, he could smell it even from a mile away. Moreover, the smell had a calming effect, so it was obviously not an ordinary wood. It was similar to the legendary sky tree. If it was really this wood, this tag would have many other wonderful uses. "Junior brother Lu, let's go. I know you want to go to the Sutra Library the most. Follow me," Zhao Tianxing said with a smile. Chu Li fist saluted and followed Zhao Tianxing out of the courtyard. After walking for more than a mile, they arrived at a towering building. When he stood downstairs, he noticed that the building was made of black iron. It was towering, and he felt an enormous pressure as he stood below. He felt extraordinarily small and insignificant. "What secret manual are you looking for?" Zhao Tianxing asked. Chu Li replied, "Spirit crane technique." "Oh, a foundation building technique. Are you going to cultivate Green Deer Cliff's martial arts from the beginning?" "Yes. Are you going to cultivate dancing cranes at the 9th heaven after mastering spirit crane technique? Zhao Tianxing said with a smile. Then you'll have to hurry up. Spirit crane technique isn't easy to cultivate. We've all started from a young age and spent several years to cultivate the first level. Chu Li nodded. Logically speaking, the deeper one cultivates spirit crane technique, the easier it is to cultivate dancing cranes at the 9th heaven. Unfortunately, cultivating spirit crane technique is too slow. People usually start cultivating dancing cranes at the first level. How many levels do you plan to cultivate? Perfected, Chu Li replied. Zhao Tianxing shook his head and laughed. Chu Li asked, Senior brother Zhao, why are you laughing? Chapter 1197. Chu Li's expression changed. The last 3 levels are gone? Yes. Zhao Tianxing nodded. Why are they gone? Chu Li frowned. Why are they gone? I think it's a secret. Nobody knows. Zhao Tianxing shook his head. But it doesn't matter because nobody can cultivate to the 6th level. If the spirit crane technique isn't a foundation building heart technique, nobody will cultivate it. It's slow, time-consuming, and powerless. What's the highest level? Chu Li asked. Zhao Tianxing answered, maybe Master's Junior Ning. He cultivated to the 5th level. 5th level. Chu Li frowned. Why so slow? Is it because of the spiritual energy from heaven and earth? Firstly, it's because of the spiritual energy from heaven and earth. Secondly, we can't see spirit cranes, so we can't obtain their essence. Naturally, there's no way to improve. Zhao Tianxing shook his head and sighed. Green Deer Cliff used to be a gathering place for spirit cranes. Why are the pavilions built so high? It's to attract spirit cranes. Spirit cranes don't like to land on the ground and dislike turbid air. They live in the sky and breathe in fresh air. That's their habit. Chu Li nodded. That was true. The spirit crane's peak was so tall that one could not see the bottom as it was blocked by clouds. Moreover, spirit cranes still perched on the treetops as they disliked turbid air. If there's an abundance of spiritual energy and I see spirit cranes again, can I cultivate the spirit crane technique quickly? Chu Li asked. Zhao Tianxing laughed. Then we can only go back to ancient times. However, the spirit crane technique wasn't a martial art that could be mastered in a short period of time. It requires a lifetime of cultivation. It's profound and contains the truth of heaven and earth. Chu Li nodded slowly, feeling disappointed. Without the last 3 levels of heart technique, it would be useless for him to obtain the spirit crane technique. It would be a waste of effort. Without changing his expression, he followed him into the sutra library. There was nothing different about the scripture pavilion. It was spacious and quiet. There were many antique bookshelves filled to the brim with scrolls. There were many disciples in the pavilion. Some were reading, nodding their heads, and some were carefully searching, their expressions anxious. After Chu Li and Zhao Tianxing entered, they went straight to a bookshelf on the 1st floor. Zhao Tianxing pointed. Chu Li looked over and saw that the spirit crane technique was written on this row of bookshelves. There were almost 1,000 volumes. Some of them were questions about the spirit crane technique, some were detailed explanations of the spirit crane technique, some were insights about the spirit crane technique, and some were not questions about the spirit crane technique. There were all sorts of them, but they were all experiences and cultivation guides for the spirit crane technique. Zhao Tianxing said, based on my experience, it's best not to look at these insights because they're useless. Chu Li raised his eyebrows. Zhao Tianxing shook his head and said, everyone has their own experiences when cultivating the spirit crane technique. Everyone is different. If you want to learn from someone else, you might go down the wrong path. In the end, you'll realize that it's not suitable for you, and you'll end up wasting your time. Since it's useless, why did you place it here? Chu Li asked. Zhao Tianxing said, when you're really puzzled, you can come over and take a look. You can learn from others, but don't practice according to these insights. You have to walk your own path. If that's the case. Julie nodded slowly, feeling that it made sense. I want to take a look at these first. Julie pointed. You should practice first before looking at it, Zhao Tianxing said. Julie shook his head. I want to practice it after looking at it. All right, up to you. Zhao Tianxing shook his head and smiled. You're also walking your own path. Julie smiled. Thank you, senior brother Zhao. Go ahead and do what you need to do. Don't worry about me. I'll ask for your help if anything happens. No problem. We're neighbors anyway, Zhao Tianxing said with a smile. He waved his hand and turned to leave, no longer looking at the books beside him. Julie began to read the books eagerly. He first found the original secret manual of the spirit crane technique. There were only 6 levels in total, but he realized that the heart technique was not activated by inner energy. Instead, inner energy was generated and activated through movement. The spirit cranes in the pictures were vivid and lifelike. They were real spirit cranes, which was rare for a secret manual. He had seen many secret manuals, such as the Sun Cultivating White Tiger Portrait and the White Tiger Power. The spirit beasts in the pictures had changed their appearances and were vaguely resembling wild beasts. They had completely lost the spirit, energy, and spirit of spirit beasts. The spirit cranes in the spirit crane technique were no different from real spirit cranes. Unfortunately, one could only see the pictures and not the real cranes, so one could not grasp its essence. Hence, the spirit crane technique was difficult to cultivate. Moreover, it was obvious that inner energy was formed by transforming spiritual energy or directly controlling spiritual energy. Hence, one could not cultivate it without sufficient spiritual energy. The spiritual energy on Green Deer Cliff was 10 times or even more than that of the outside world. However, compared to Spirit Crane's peak, it was more than 100 times more abundant. The difference was too great. Even if there were spirit cranes, it was impossible to cultivate the spirit crane technique with this amount of spiritual energy. After flipping through 6 levels in one go, he closed the secret manual and carefully placed it back in its original place. Then, he closed his eyes and began to simulate in his mind. As he moved slowly, a wisp of fresh air seemed to linger around him. He had previously comprehended the 6 forms of spirit crane and was extremely familiar with the expressions and behaviors of spirit cranes. He also knew their thoughts, so it was much easier for him to cultivate the spirit crane technique than ordinary people. He opened his eyes and continued to read the other insight. He flipped through one book after another and imprinted them into his mind. When he needed to use them, he could just search for them in his mind. Hence, he flipped through them very quickly. By the time the sky turned dark, he had already flipped through the 1,000 volumes of insight. There were still some small techniques that needed time to master. The sutra library was already filled with a gentle milky white brilliance. There were luminous pearls hanging everywhere. Julie shook his head and sighed. How extravagant! There were so many luminous pearls. Any one of them could be sold outside and one could live a carefree life. He walked out of the sutra library and returned to the small courtyard without reading any other book. The small courtyard was already brightly lit. Julie was stunned. He pushed the door open and saw a delicate and pretty young girl already standing inside. She was cleaning the courtyard. When she saw him, she quickly curtsied. Julie was stunned. You are? I'm Su Mei. Greetings, senior brother Liu, the young girl said crisply. Julie looked at her in confusion. She was dressed in a green tunic and had a graceful figure. Although she was not extremely beautiful, she was still delicate and lovely. Su Mei said, I was ordered to serve senior brother Liu. Julie was even more confused. I'm not an official disciple, Su Mei said. I'm not talented, so I can only be a maid. Then why did you come to Green Deer Cliff? My parents are disciples of Green Deer Cliff, Su Mei said. She spoke slowly, softly and calmly. Julie smiled bitterly. Then who would dare to let you serve them? What does that matter? Su Mei said. I can't just sit around and do nothing. I have to help the cliff. All right. Chu Li nodded. The children of Green Deer Cliff disciples might not necessarily be talented. Since Green Deer Cliff was very strict in accepting disciples, the children of these disciples could not be thrown out of Green Deer Cliff. It would be too unreasonable. They could only stay on the island. They could not become disciples of Green Deer Cliff, and could only be maids or scribes. However, it was obvious that the status of these maids would not be low. After all, their parents were around, so they had to show respect for Green Deer Cliff. Su Mei left with light footsteps and soon returned with a box of rice. She placed 4 dishes and 2 soups on it. After Chu Li finished eating, he left the small courtyard and strolled outside to familiarize himself with Green Deer Cliff. Chapter 1198. Along the way, he did not run into many Green Deer Cliff disciples. Most of them were young men, and even middle-aged men were rare. He did not see any children or elders either. It was as if there were only young people on this island. He vaguely guessed that the old man and the child did not live here, but on another island. Such a huge island was only a part of Green Deer Cliff. This made him even more curious about Green Deer Cliff. It seemed that there were many mysteries to uncover. Nonetheless, he did not want to dig too deep. The key was still the spirit crane technique. He only came to Green Deer Cliff to obtain the spirit crane technique and was not in a hurry to learn other martial arts. The antique studies that he had cultivated were enough, so there was no need for him to be greedy. He was already able to enter the Sutra Library of Great Light Peak and read through the books in the library one by one. However, he did not flip through too many pages lest he got distracted and wasted his energy, neglecting the antique studies that he was currently cultivating. Although the Sutra Library of Green Deer Cliff was better than the Sutra Library of Great Light Peak, he did not intend to read all of them. He only chose one and cultivated it to perfection. Then, he would think of a way to obtain the other heart techniques and cultivate them to perfection. He realized that this path was extremely difficult and time-consuming. He had to race against time and could not afford to waste any time. When he returned to the courtyard, Su Mei was no longer there. She only came to clean up during mealtimes and spent the rest of her time cultivating martial art. Although her aptitude was average, she was still far better than ordinary people. After all, Green Deer Cliff had an excellent environment and a foundation built with spirit herbs. Ordinary people could not compare to them. Even the weakest among them could become a grandmaster. Chu Li spent the next few days cultivating the spirit crane technique and realized that his progress was extremely slow. As he practiced the spirit crane technique, clear air slowly surrounded him. This clear air was the source of spiritual energy, which continuously nourished his body and circulated in a unique way. Through the circulation of this spiritual energy, he noticed that his turbid air gradually decreased and his body became lighter. This feeling was different from the lightness of the wind speed pill. The wind speed pill made the body lighter and faster, while the spirit crane technique made the body lighter and more flexible. He was slightly impatient. This kind of cultivation was really a waste of time. The next morning, he knocked on the door of Zhao Tianxing's courtyard. Zhao Tianxing was practicing his fist technique in the courtyard. When he saw Chu Li, he stopped and smiled. "You've seen the spirit crane technique. Junior brother Lu, you've cultivated it too, right? How do you feel?" "Too slow." Chu Li shook his head. Zhao Tianxing chuckled. "It's better for you now. After all, your mind is strong. When we cultivated when we were young, it was extremely painful." Chu Li said, "I want to know where the other 3 floors have gone and if I can find them. We really can't come into contact with this." Zhao Tianxing shook his head and said, "As far as I know, he was taken away by a disciple and never returned. He ended up wandering outside. As for which disciple, I'm not sure. It's a taboo in Green Deer Cliff. Chuli raised his eyebrows. Betrayed Green Deer Cliff? It's very likely. Zhao Tianxing sighed and said, he seems to be the only one who betrayed the sect, so no one mentioned him. That means it's still possible to find it, Chuli said. Zhao Tianxing shook his head. We would have done it a long time ago if we could. Our sect isn't weak. It's just that we've been holding back all this while. We're not inferior to the Tempest Temple and the Titanium Temple. Chuli asked, then who is it? No one can tell you. Zhao Tianxing said, it's better not to ask. It's impossible to find it anyway. As for perfecting the spirit crane technique, that's a pipe dream. You should cultivate the 6th level first. Chuli nodded slowly. I want to go down the mountain. Zhao Tianxing was stunned. Chuli smiled embarrassedly. I'm a little homesick. Theoretically, inner cliff disciples can't go down the mountain as they please. Among the young disciples, I'm the only one who has gone down the mountain once. The others haven't. Zhao Tianxing shook his head and said, but you're the youth champion now, so it's not a problem. Chuli smiled. Can I really go down the mountain? Are you going back to Tide Listening Pavilion to tell them the good news? Zhao Tianxing asked. Chuli smiled and nodded. Zhao Tianxing said, I'll ask them for you. Thank you, senior brother Zhao. You're welcome. Zhao Tianxing left in a hurry and returned after 15 minutes. He nodded with a smile. No problem. You can go down the mountain, but you must bring your waist tag with you. Don't lose it or you won't be able to return to Green Deer Cliff. Okay. Chuli smiled. Chuli went back to meet He Shu and the others first before he left Green Deer Cliff. He sailed a small boat and finally returned to the seaside. Then, he returned to the High Duke's public house's Jade Guardian Island. Jade Guardian Island was bustling with activity. The sound of a guzheng could be heard while maids were trimming dead branches. Winter had arrived. Although Jade Guardian Island was as warm as spring, the leaves had begun to wither and some of the flowers had also started to wither. Most of the flowers were still blooming. These were rare plants that only bloomed in winter. Winter was usually a bleak time, but the flowers made the atmosphere more lively and brighter. Following the sound of the guzheng, Chuli arrived at the stargazing tower. Xiao Qi was playing the guzheng with her head lowered. Chuli sat on an embroidered stool and admired her graceful figure. Her elegant movements were pleasing to the eyes and ears. The sound of the guzheng suddenly rose and stopped. She turned to look at him. Chuli smiled. Why are you in a bad mood? From the sound of the guzheng, he could tell that Xiao Qi was unhappy about something. The people from Secret Guardians Hall are here. Xiao Qi scoffed. Chuli frowned. They've gone too far. It seems like His Highness the Crown Prince wants me to make a fool of myself. How should we deal with it? Xiao Qi asked. You haven't been back for a while. Have you entered the inner cliff? They've entered. Chuli smiled. It was very thrilling. We should just shut them out. Do they still dare to barge in? It looks like they're going to barge in. Xiao Qi frowned. I can't make up my mind. Leave it to me. Chuli nodded. I'll go and meet them myself. Forget it. Xiao Qi shook her head. Once you show up, there'll be no turning back. That's good too. Just chase them away. Chuli scoffed. If they want to barge in, break their legs. Won't they be too tough if their legs are broken? Xiao Qi said. They're too arrogant. We should be tough. Chuli said. Are they going to do something just because the High Duke's public house is arrogant? That's true. Xiao Qi slowly nodded. She knew that once Chuli quarreled with His Highness the Crown Prince, he would definitely vent his anger on the E-Public House. Chuli and the E-Public House were one and it was difficult to separate them. Chuli said, Madam, can you help me find out if there's a disciple who betrayed Green Deer Cliff? A disciple of Green Deer Cliff won't betray, right? Xiao Qi asked. Chuli shook his head. There was one who betrayed Green Deer Cliff and took away the spirit crane technique of Green Deer Cliff. Yes, I'll ask Aunt for you. Shao-Chi nodded. Chu Li said, Aunt might not know. I'll have to ask someone else. Let's try. Chapter 1199. Early in the morning, Chu Li let go of the soft and fragrant Shao-Chi and got off the bed. With Schwelling's help, he washed up and left the public house. He went to the main street of Chongming Town and enjoyed the bustle of the morning. It was early in the morning when Chongming Town was the busiest. People came and went, and the aroma of various snacks on the street mixed together, forming the unique morning smell of Chongming Town. He had not been here for a long time. He had been busy and fighting non-stop. He could not calm down to experience daily life and enjoy the ordinary pleasures. He strolled along the street, avoiding the running children, and slowly arrived at the best restaurant in Chongming Town, the Sky Inn. He sat at a table near the window and called for the waiter to serve breakfast. He placed 2 sets of bowls and chopsticks on the table. The waiter obviously recognized Chu Li. He greeted him respectfully and quickly served the food. When Chu Li was halfway through his meal, unique footsteps could be heard. Fa Yuan floated over, his gray cowl fluttering in the wind. His handsome bald head shone brightly, reflecting his gaze. He had the demeanor of an eminent monk. Chu Li looked at him. Fa Yuan's advancement was very fast, and his cultivation level had increased by a large margin. He waved his hand and Fa Yuan came closer. He bowed with pressed palms. Amit Ba, Brother Chu. How was it? Did you find out? Chu Li bowed and pointed opposite him. Fa Yuan sat opposite him, picked up his chopsticks and started eating. It was a table full of vegetarian dishes. Fa Yuan ate a mouthful of vegetables, put down his chopsticks and nodded. I did not disappoint you. I found out. Chu Li was excited. Tell me, is there really a traitor? There will be traitors in every faction, except for the Titanium Temple. Fa Yuan shook his head. But why do you want to investigate him? I'm curious. I also heard that this traitor seems to have taken some martial arts secret manuals from Green Deer Cliff, so I want to get them, Chu Li said. Then I advise you to stop thinking about it. Fa Yuan smiled. This traitor is an enlightened master. Enlightened master? Chu Li was surprised. No wonder Green Deer Cliff kept it a secret and became a taboo. He was an enlightened master. Fa Yuan smiled. He was one of the last masters to become an enlightened master. From then on, the spirit beasts entered the 100,000 hills, and no one was able to cultivate the spirit beast technique to become an enlightened master. The path to becoming an enlightened master was completely changed. Chu Li frowned. So, it was 1,000 years ago? Exactly. Fa Yuan nodded. His surname is Zhu, and his full name is Zhu Liang. He has a stubborn temper, but he is brave and diligent. In the end, he became an enlightened master, but his whereabouts are unknown. As for the secret manual that you mentioned, I'm afraid it has completely disappeared. Not a single clue. Chu Li frowned. Is it possible that he hid the secret manual? Who knows? Fa Yuan shook his head and sighed. These enlightened masters are unpredictable. How can we understand them? Perhaps it has already been destroyed. Do you think he's still alive? Chu Li asked. Of course. An enlightened master's lifespan is extremely long, but he's definitely not in this realm. He must have gone to the outland, Fa Yuan said. Chu Li frowned. If that's the case, it's impossible to find him. Impossible. Fa Yuan shook his head. Forget it. Chu Li remained silent. When Fa Yuan saw his expression, he knew that he had not given up, but there was nothing he could do. What other clues do you have about him? Chu Li asked. His usual behavior, temperament, and so on. Tell me everything about him. Fa Yuan said. This Zhu Liang is very stubborn and arrogant. He has offended many people, but in the end, he became an enlightened master. No one can do anything to him. I only know that he has always been a loner and has no friend. Chu Li slowly nodded. Fa Yuan sighed. What secret manual did he steal? Chu Li said, I think it's the spirit crane technique. You want to cultivate the spirit crane technique? Fa Yuan was shocked. The spirit crane technique is not suitable for cultivation. The spiritual energy in this realm has dried up, and this type of spirit beast martial arts is no longer suitable for cultivation. The four elements are empty, and everything has its own life and death. The spirit beast martial arts are already perishable martial arts. Your current martial arts are 100 times stronger than the spirit crane technique. Chu Li shook his head. I'm just curious. Don't be too smart for your own good. Forget about the spirit crane technique, Fa Yuan advised. Chu Li said, I still want to give it a try. If I can't secretly learn it from Green Deer Cliff, it's not a bad idea to look for this enlightened master. I'll keep an eye on it, Fa Yuan said. Chu Li smiled. Thank you, thank you. The two of them chatted for a while more before Fa Yuan bid farewell and left in a carefree manner. After Chu Li finished his meal, he went down the Sky Inn and slowly walked back along the main street. When he was halfway there, 4 grandmasters suddenly jumped out from the side and rushed straight at Chu Li. They were so fast that their faces could not be seen clearly. They were ruthless and wanted to take his life. Chu Li frowned. Suddenly, a shadow appeared around him as if he had turned into a few people. Bam, 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 bam. With a series of muffled sounds, the 4 grandmasters flew out. 2 of them flew to the east while the other 2 flew to the west. They flew more than 20 meters away and landed heavily on the bluestone road, making a loud thud. Chu Li then swung his hand and 4 streams of light shot into the dantian of the 4 people. They screamed in pain, without the restraint of grandmasters. They clutched their abdomens and stared at Chu Li. Chu Li said, If you use force in Chongming Town, your martial arts will be crippled and you will be expelled from the town. No exceptions. His voice was calm and unhurried, like the rising tide, spreading out slowly, without missing a single detail. In the end, his voice spread throughout the entire Chongming Town, showing off his amazing inner energy cultivation. Everyone who heard it was amazed. Chu Li continued, Protectors of the House of High Dukes, throw them out of the town. Yes. Someone shouted from afar. There were many protectors of the House of High Dukes patrolling the main street. They all recognized Chu Li. When they heard his words, they quickly ran forward and picked up the 4 people on the ground and ran away. They even covered their mouth. Chu Li nodded in approval. It was obvious that these protectors knew who these 4 people were. Chu Li continued to walk forward. People made way for him and greeted him. Chu Li nodded at them one by one. Chu Li was known to everyone in Chongming Town. Even if they had never met him, they would know his name. Chu Li of the north and Du Feng of the south. After Du Feng assassinated King An and escaped from the hands of the emperor, he disappeared without a trace. Du Feng became even more famous. Chu Li and Du Feng were equally famous. Everyone in Chongming Town was proud of Chu Li, and they talked about him enthusiastically. Whenever Chu Li made any movements or news, they would hear about it. Everyone gathered together and discussed it. Chu Li became the head chief of the imperial residence of King An and offended the emperor. He was sent to the imperial mausoleum and then returned to the fairy's capital. This series of events was extremely legendary in their eyes, and they loved to talk about it. Chu Li slowly walked back to the House of High Dukes. Shao Qi was practicing her swordsmanship in the garden of the Jade Guardian Island. Chu Li stood at the side and watched. Shao Qi's swordsmanship was elegant and very charming. He watched it as if it was a dance. After a while, Shao Qi put away her sword. Her graceful body was full of energy and her face was stunning. Chu Li smiled. Don't worry about the people from the secret Guardians Hall. Chapter 1200. Chu Li smiled. I didn't expect them to be this stupid. They really haven't improved. The reason why he leisurely walked to the Sky Inn without using God's limbs was to attract the attention of the people from the secret Guardian's Hall. Initially, he did not hold much hope. After all, the secret Guardian's Hall was not the same as before. They were not as arrogant as they used to be. After being taught a lesson by Seoshur, they had completely lost their drive. He was just holding on to a sliver of hope that he could sense the aura of Chongming Town at the same time. He did not expect that after Gu Yu took over as the commander, the secret guardians would revert to their old ways and return to their original arrogance. Perhaps it was because they had left Fairy's capital, they felt that no one would dare to provoke them. Hence, they became arrogant again and actually made a move against him. They wanted to teach him a lesson. This was exactly what he wanted. Without waiting for them to speak, he would immediately cripple their martial arts and throw them out of Chongming Town. Even if they were to sue the emperor, he would still be in the right. 4 grandmasters were an important force no matter where they were placed. The fact that the secret Guardians Hall had lost 4 grandmasters at once was enough to give Gu Yu a headache. Gu Yu wanted to make things difficult for him and teach the Crown Prince a lesson at the same time. This made him feel good. Lu Yurong would not let go of this opportunity. What happened? Shao Qi asked worriedly. Chu Li told her everything that had happened. Shao Qi shook her head and frowned. We've really offended the Crown Prince this time. Chu Li smiled. He doesn't want us to have an easy time. We can't just sit and wait. We have to teach him a lesson. I'm just afraid that he won't accept it and will continue to cause trouble. Shao Qi frowned. We'll deal with it when it comes. Chu Li smiled. Don't worry. It won't be life-threatening. It's just a small fight. Your swordsmanship has improved a lot. It seems to have reached another level. It's heartless when you're deeply in love. Shao Qi sighed. She was worried. If she continued to train like this, she really did not know what would happen to her. Chu Li said, Then let's take it slow. But there's no need to suppress it too much. Let nature take its course. Yes, that's the only way. Shao Qi nodded. Bang! A celadone teacup was smashed to the ground. It was smashed into pieces and the porcelain pieces scattered everywhere. In the main hall of the Crown Prince's residence, it was so quiet that one could hear a pin drop. Crown Prince Ling Jinghua paced back and forth angrily with his hands behind his back. His bright yellow robe fluttered in the wind, but his face was tense and his eyes were burning with anger. The surrounding guards were as silent as cicadas in winter, not daring to move at all, as if they had been immobilized. A little maid at the door lifted the hem of her dress, walked down the stairs, and ran out. Ling Jinghua glared at the young man who was standing with his head lowered. He sneered. Gu Yu, how dare you? The green-robed young man groaned in his heart. He raised his head and had a helpless expression on his face. That's what Commander Gu said. I'm just following orders. I hope your highness will forgive me. Gu Yu is getting more and more impudent. Ling Jinghua smirked. He's becoming more and more incompetent. How could he cause such a mess over such a small matter? What a joke. Yes. The green-robed youth lowered his head and said, Go back and tell him to come see me. Ling Jinghua scoffed. The green-robed youth quickly nodded. Lu Yurong, who was dressed in a white gown, gracefully stepped into the living room. After curtsying, she approached Ling Jinghua and asked, Uncle-in-law, what happened? Gu Yu sent a secret guardian to Chongming Town to assassinate Chu Li in the town. Chu Li crippled his martial arts. Ling Jinghua sneered and scoffed. He's a good-for-nothing. Lu Yurong said, Why did he attack Chu Li in Chongming Town? Don't they know the rules of Chongming Town? She was also a member of the High Duke's public house. If anyone attacked in Green Mountain Town, they would be crippled of their martial arts and thrown out of the town. It was an iron law that every martial artist had to follow. There were no exceptions, or else they would lose their prestige. Ling Jinghua scoffed. They think that they don't have to follow the rules because they're secret guardians. They also look down on the High Duke's public house, thinking that the rules of the High Duke's public house can't restrict them. What's worse is that they think they can control Chuli. Lu Yurong shook her head. Could it be a top-notch master? Of course it's a top-notch master, Lung Jinghua said. But what's the use of a top-notch master in front of Chuli? I heard that they didn't even have time to speak before their martial arts were crippled by Chuli in one move. They didn't even have the chance to reveal their identity or say a word. Lu Yurong sighed softly. It's a stupid thing to do. Could it be Commander Gu's order? Even if it's not his order, it's still his responsibility. Lung Jinghua took a deep breath and sat back in his armchair. The scribes and protectors around him sighed in relief and dared to move. They sighed to themselves. Miss Lu was indeed useful. Lu Yurong said, forget it. Since things have come to this, there's no point talking about it anymore. Let's call the secret guardians back. Don't go to the High Duke's public house. The public house isn't what it used to be. The secret guardians hall won't be able to get any benefits. Are we going to return with our tails between our legs? The young man in green whispered. The commander said he's not satisfied. Then we'll suffer even more. Let's retreat while we can, Lu Yurong said. Yes, I'll tell the commander, the young man in green replied. Go, go. Lung Jinghua impatiently waved his hand and sent the young man away. Lung Jinghua sighed. This Guyu, he doesn't even respect me now. Lu Yurong said, Uncle-in-law, we still need to control the secret guardians hall or else we'll be tied down. The secret guardians hall is our eyes and ears. Without them, we'll be blind and deaf. We'll be deceived by everyone. Lung Jinghua shook his head. Guyu only has eyes for the emperor. He doesn't listen to me at all. Then let's replace him, Lu Yurong said. Ever since he took office, he's been making stupid moves. He's not suitable to be the commander. Replace him? Lung Jinghua was stunned. He had never thought about this before. He only wanted to subdue Guyu and make him listen to him. Lu Yurong said, the secret guardians hall is too important. If we can't replace him, we'll be harmed in the future. While the emperor doesn't have any other thoughts, we should try our best to take this position. Commander. Lung Jinghua remained silent. His expression was uncertain as he thought about the pros and cons. The secret guardians hall had always been the emperor's private army. They were directly appointed by the emperor and outsiders had no right to interfere. Hence, they had a high status and great influence. Their ears and eyes were especially sharp as they had infiltrated almost every imperial court official's home. If this power was not controlled by the emperor would not be at ease if it fell into the hands of others. If it were to be harmed, the damage would be too great. If he wanted to obtain this power, what would the emperor think? Would he think that he was too greedy or dissatisfied with the imperial court? Lu Yurong said, in less than 10 years, the emperor will probably let you do whatever you want. The secret guardians hall is the most important force. With the secret guardians hall, you'll be aware of the slightest movement in the imperial court. You'll be able to eliminate your opponents. Chapter 1201. Lu Yurong smiled. Uncle-in-law, what do you think of me? You want to be the commander of the secret guardians hall? Lung Jinghua was surprised. Lu Yurong nodded and said, Uncle-in-law, I really don't trust others. This position is too important. If they have the slightest bit of disloyalty, or have other thoughts, they might ruin your plans, and I'm the best at this. That's true. Lung Jinghua nodded. Lu Yurong's talent in using spies was amazing. It was said that Chuli was also an excellent spy, but he had never seen it for himself. To him, no one was better than her. Lu Yurong said, Guyu is muddle-headed and incompetent. He's narrow-minded and can't tolerate others. Look at how long he's been the commander and he's already messed up the secret guardians hall. Lung Jinghua scoffed. He was also very dissatisfied with the current state of the Secret Guardians Hall. It was far from what it used to be. It was as if they were two different groups of people. The current Secret Guardians Hall could not be expected to take on big responsibilities. If there was a big case, they might have to look for Chuli. With their abilities and mutual restraints, it was impossible to solve a case. Lu Yurong said, "Even if you don't let me come, it's best to take down Gu Yu and replace him with a more suitable person. The Emperor is meticulous and he must have seen through Gu Yu's capabilities. He won't be too insistent. Uncle-in-law, you might be able to replace him." "All right, I'll talk to my father," Lung Jinghua said. "Try to get you to be the commander." Lu Yurong said, "As far as I know, the Mei Air courtyard that Chuli originally belonged to was only outwardly obedient to Gu Yu. They didn't listen to him at all. On the other hand, the people in the Mei Air courtyard are all elite. Without the Mei Air courtyard, the Secret Guardians Hall's strength has dropped significantly." "Yes, I heard about it too." Lung Jinghua nodded. Lu Yurong smiled. "If I become the commander, Mei Air courtyard will be pulled over." "That's great," Lung Jinghua said. Lu Yurong said, "There's also Chuli. Gu Yu can't defeat him. It's useless to give him more people." Sigh. This Chuli. Lung Jinghua shook his head. He was now very disgusted with Chuli. Chuli was arrogant and domineering, but there was nothing he could do, and he could not control him. After he hid in the public house, he was like a tortoise in its shell. There was nothing he could do. It was not easy to lure him out of his shell. Lu Yurong smiled and said, "Uncle-in-law, you don't have to worry. I will think of a way to deal with Chuli and make him suffer." "Yes, you're the only one who can deal with him," Lung Jinghua said. Gu Yu sat in the main hall of the Secret Guardians Hall with a gloomy expression. The green-robed youth stood in front of him with his head lowered, not saying a word. Gu Yu sneered. "What a great crown prince! He's really awe-inspiring. He's not even the emperor yet. Commander, be careful with your words. He is the future emperor," the green-robed youth hurriedly said. "Humph," Gu Yu said disdainfully. "He's not even the emperor yet, but he already has the airs of an emperor. How can he order around the Secret Guardians Hall? It's already unprecedented for me to show him some respect, but he's still not satisfied and even dares to blame me." "Commander, we should think about how to deal with Chuli," the green-robed youth said. "If we don't take him down, the Secret Guardians Hall will lose face. Will he stay in the High Duke's public house for the rest of his life?" "I'm not afraid of staying in the High Duke's public house." Gu Yu sneered and scoffed. "Go to Mei Air courtyard and get Yang Zongwen here." The green-robed youth quickly responded and hurried out. Yang Zongwen quickly returned and gave a fist salute with a calm expression. "Commander, I order everyone in Mei Air courtyard to go to Chongming Town's public house and invite Chuli back," Gu Yu said coldly. Yang Zongwen was stunned. "Invite head chief Chu?" "That's right." Gu Yu scoffed. "This shouldn't be difficult, right? I'm not making things difficult for you, right? Based on your relationship with Chuli, it should be easy. If you can't do it, don't blame me for being rude." Yang Zongwen nodded. "Yes, we'll accept the order." "Very well." Gu Yu's expression softened. "I'll only give you a month. Is that lenient enough?" Yang Zongwen gave a fist salute. "We'll depart immediately." "Very well." Gu Yu waved his hand. "The sooner you return, the better my reward will be." Yang Zongwen gave a fist salute and strode away. The green-robed youth watched him leave and asked hesitantly, "Commander, how can they capture Chuli?" "Humph, no matter how they do it, it's fine as long as Chuli is back." Gu Yu sneered. "As long as he's back, he'll have a taste of his own medicine, heh?" The green-robed youth laughed. "Yes, we have conclusive evidence. He can't deny it." When Yang Zongwen returned to Mei Air courtyard, Dong Qifei, Qin Jin, and the others were there. After listening to Yang Zongwen, Dong Qifei scolded Gu Yu for being sinister and despicable. Qin Jin smiled. This is a good opportunity. Let's go to Chongming Town. I've heard a lot about the public house, but never had the chance to meet them. If we go, will the centurion come back or not? Dong Qifei scoffed. We'll make things difficult for the centurion. There's no need to make things difficult for the centurion. Qin Jin shook his head. We can go there as guests. If we go, the rest of the secret guardians' hall won't have to go and cause trouble for the centurion. It'll be interesting to be a guest at the public house. Yang Zongwen smiled. They quickly left Fairy's capital together. They used their light body technique to travel faster than a galloping horse. They arrived at Chongming Town on the evening of the second day. Chu Li personally went out of town to welcome them and brought them to his island in the public house. Centurion, I heard that he has solid evidence of you colluding with the Holy Church of Light, Yang Zongwen said. As the sun set in the west, they sat in Chu Li's courtyard. The air was exceptionally fresh and the sunset glow illuminated the courtyard with a hint of red. Chu Li laughed. I colluded with a disciple of the Holy Church of Light? Yes. Yang Zongwen nodded. Judging from Gu Yu's expression, it's not fake. Chu Li frowned and pondered. Qin Jin said, Centurion, tell us the truth. Is there such a thing? Chu Li glared at him impatiently. Qin Jin chuckled. Even if Centurion colluded with the Holy Church of Light, we won't say anything. Chu Li said, Don't you know how deep my hatred for the Holy Church of Light is? Even if I wanted to collude, the Holy Church of Light would have to agree to it. Then why does he have evidence? Qin Jin said, Gu Yu isn't shrewd enough. One look and you can tell that the evidence is real. Chu Li waved his hand. I'd like to see what evidence he has. Chu Li frowned worriedly. Gu Yu seemed to be fooled by him as if he was an idiot. In fact, he was not stupid at all. In fact, he was very clever. The evidence was definitely not fake. However, what evidence did Chu Li and the Holy Church of Light have that made him so sure? After thinking about it, he thought of Fu Mengshan. Only 3 people knew that he went undercover in the Holy Church of Light. He trusted Su Huanda but not Fu Mengshan. If someone leaked the secret, it could only be Fu Mengshan. He could not sit still when he thought about it. If his identity was exposed, all his previous efforts would go to waste. Moreover, it would be a huge problem. Centurion, if you have something to do, you should go ahead and do it. Let's take a break and go to the town tomorrow, Qin Jin said. Chu Li nodded. All right, you don't have to be so polite since you're here. I have something to take a look at first. Yes. Everyone fist saluted. Chapter 1202. P.S. The internet was cut off. I was in the countryside, and I was in a hurry to write. I didn't have time to go to the city to find internet, so I could only write first. I'm really sorry. After leaving the small courtyard, he suddenly disappeared and reappeared in the adjacent city of the Imperial Mausoleum. At this moment, he had changed into another appearance. He was a middle-aged man with a haggard face and a skinny figure. He was only at the level of an innate expert. His eyes were bright, and he wouldn't be too conspicuous in the crowd, nor would he be too ordinary. He walked slowly to Su Huanda's courtyard and gently knocked on the door. As soon as he arrived at adjacent town, he could already see Su Huanda's small courtyard. Everything within a 5-kilometer radius appeared in his mind. His and Xiao Qi's courtyard was still empty and unoccupied, but it was very clean. It was obvious that it was frequently cleaned. Although he was no longer in adjacent town, he still left some forces here under Xiao Qi's control. They were incorporated into the High Duke's public house, so any news would reach Xiao Qi at any time. Su Huanda was practicing his swordsmanship when he heard the knock on the door. He called out, "Come in." When Chu Li entered Su Huanda's door, he returned to his original appearance. He gave a fist salute and smiled. Commander Su. Truly? Su Huanda was surprised. He hurriedly came forward and cupped his fist. Why are you here? I have something to ask, Chuli said. The two of them sat at the stone table in the courtyard. Chuli looked around and smiled. Commander, we should move to another courtyard. This place is too cramped. It's okay. I'm used to it. Su Huanda shook his head and smiled. It's fine as long as we have a place to stay. There's no need to be so particular about it. Chuli, how did you find the time to come here? Although he was in adjacent town and was isolated from the outside world, he knew that once Chuli left adjacent town, he would be like a dragon returning to the sea. He would not be idle at all. Chuli was a busy man. Since it was rare for him to return to adjacent town, something big must have happened. I'm looking for Commander Fu, Chuli said. Why can't I see him? Could he have entered the inner mausoleum? Old Fu. Su Huanda frowned and his face darkened. Chuli immediately knew that something was wrong. He frowned and asked, Did something happen to Commander Fu? Old Fu is dead. Su Huanda sighed and shook his head. He was stabbed to death in his own courtyard. When did this happen? Chuli's expression changed. Su Huanda sighed. It's been half a month. Chuli frowned. If Shao Qi received the news, she would probably tell him. Even though he no longer had any relationship with Fu Mengshan, they were still related to each other. They were not strangers. It seemed that the situation in adjacent town had changed. Su Huanda said, Old Fu is already prepared for this, it's inevitable. The Emperor? Chuli scoffed. Su Huanda nodded slowly. If the Emperor still wants to use Old Fu, he will show mercy. If he doesn't want to use him anymore, then he won't let him live. Su Huanda said plainly, Old Fu knows too much that he shouldn't. Is it really the Emperor? Chuli frowned. It can't be an impostor, right? Hard to say. Su Huanda shook his head. He's already dead. He's no longer a commander, and he's just a sinner. So what if he's dead? He won't be able to cause any trouble, and no one will investigate this matter. Chuli scoffed. I'd like to check it out. Elder Fu has already been laid to rest. It's not a good idea to disturb him, Su Huanda said. Let's just forget about it. He has already been reincarnated, so why bother with him? Chuli did not say anything. Su Huanda suddenly came to a realization. He shook his head and laughed. He had been living comfortably here for so long that he became a little slow. Chuli was a smart person. Why would he look for Fu Mengshan for no reason? It must be something serious. But if you really want to know, there's no harm in checking it out, Su Huanda said. I also want to know if it's really the Emperor. Chuli looked up at him and shook his head with a smile. Commander Su, you've changed. Su Huanda smiled. Without the pressure of duty, I'm not that insensible. Alright, why are you looking for Old Fu? I heard that Guyu found concrete evidence that I'm colluding with the Holy Church of Light. Chuli's face darkened. Su Huanda frowned. He still won't let you go? This guy doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Su Huanda frowned. Chuli said, he doesn't have any other skills, but he's extremely tenacious. He suffered losses and was taught a lesson, but he still came back time and time again. He has some redeeming qualities. How is that possible? Su Huanda frowned. Did you really collude with the Holy Church of Light? What do you think? Chuli scoffed. You suspect that the spy was leaked? Su Huanda's expression changed. Chuli slowly nodded. Only the three of us know about this. Commander Su, you won't leak it, but I can't say for sure about Commander Fu. It's very likely that Guyu dug out something from Commander Fu. You suspect that Guyu assassinated Commander Fu? If Guyu did it, it would be the same as the Emperor doing it. No one would be able to tell that he was abusing his official position for personal gain. It's even harder to tell if Commander Fu was involved. I'm afraid. Chuli shook his head and sighed. A person like Fu Mengshan would grasp at any straw in desperation. Even if he could not escape in the end, he might not want others to have an easy time. He might leak the fact that he had disguised himself as Zhao Dai and infiltrated the Holy Church of Light to find a scapegoat. Fu Mengshan and Su Huanda were completely different people. It was very possible that they would do such a thing. Su Huanda frowned. That's possible. What should we do? This was the first time Chu Li infiltrated the Holy Church of Light. If this was leaked, not only would all his previous efforts be wasted, he would also implicate more people. Even if Chu Li was in the Holy Church of Light, it was impossible that he did not have any friends. Moreover, he was already an official with a group of loyal subordinates. If Chu Li's identity was leaked, these people would not end up well. Chu Li shook his head. I hope that Commander Fu didn't tell Guyu. I hope that Commander Fu didn't leak this out. Why don't I test Guyu first? Su Huanda suggested. Chu Li quickly waved his hand. It's better that you don't get involved in this. Su Huanda said, this isn't a small matter. Moreover, Guyu is a despicable person who doesn't see the big picture. If you don't listen to him, he'll definitely spread the news. Chu Li said, I have my ways. Do you really have a way? Su Huanda frowned. Chu Li slowly said, this matter ends here. I've never been here and you've never seen me. Understood. Su Huanda slowly nodded and hesitated for a moment. Don't take the risk. Guyu can't be killed. After all, he had been Chu Li's superior before. He had a deep understanding of Chu Li's fearlessness and audacity. He was afraid that Chu Li would use the simplest method to kill Guyu. That would be troublesome. After all, Guyu was the Emperor's confidant and the commander of the Secret Guardians Hall. It would be a huge joke if the commander of the Secret Guardians Hall was killed. Chu Li smiled. Su Huanda looked at him and sighed helplessly. He did not try to persuade him as it was useless. Chu Li waved his hand and suddenly disappeared. He appeared in the garden of the Jade Guardian Island. He sat by the stone table and watched Xiao Qi practice her swordsmanship. After a while, Xiao Qi stopped practicing and sat next to him. She looked at him and noticed that he had something on his mind. What's wrong? Do you know that Fu Mengshan was assassinated? Xiao Qi frowned. When did this happen? Half a month ago. Chu Li shook his head. It seems like we can't control adjacent town anymore. I'll look into it later. Xiao Qi said. How could that be? The Emperor? Chu Li sighed. Most likely. Chapter 1203. The backyard of the Crown Prince's residence. The setting sun illuminated the back garden with a bright red glow, adding a touch of tenderness and beauty. Lu Yurong was sitting in a small courtyard in the backyard, reading a scroll. Her expression was calm and peaceful. The 9 girls were scattered around her, busy with their own task. Some watered the flowers, some cut the grass, some practiced martial arts, and some were reading. They surrounded her in the middle, forming a formation. Lung Jinghua strode to the backyard, entered the gazebo, and sat opposite her. Lu Yurong was dressed in white. She slowly put down her book and looked at Lung Jinghua. Uncle-in-law, is there anything urgent? Guyu is dead, Lung Jinghua said in a deep voice. He took out a handkerchief to wipe the sweat off his forehead. Normally, a master like him would not sweat even if he was in a hurry. However, Lung Jinghua was drenched in sweat as if he had run all the way here. Lu Yurong was stunned and asked in surprise, Dead? I heard he was assassinated by a disciple from the Holy Church of Light. Lung Jinghua shook his head. They're searching the entire city to find this disciple from the Holy Church of Light. Lu Yurong frowned. How did he die so easily? His martial arts are weak. Lung Jinghua said, It's not reliable to rely on the protectors. But the Holy Church of Light has gone too far. How dare they assassinate the commander of the Secret Guardians Hall? Lu Yurong said, Of course the Holy Church of Light is bold. They don't respect the great Ji dynasty at all. They won't be able to catch the murderer. The disciples of the Holy Church of Light have a secret technique that can conceal their martial art. Sigh. This is so embarrassing. Lung Jinghua scoffed. D*mn Gu Yu. Lu Yurong asked, can he be saved? He can't be saved. Lung Jinghua shook his head. This person is ruthless. He shattered his brain. He can't be saved even with spirit medicine. Yurong, do you really want to be the commander of the Secret Guardians Hall? I can try. Lu Yurong said, I won't have to worry about being assassinated if I'm the commander. Lung Jinghua nodded. Lu Yurong's martial arts was top-notch among the younger generation. Even the top-notch senior masters would not be able to kill her, as she would always have a chance to escape. Lung Jinghua pondered and said, this isn't a good time. Father must be furious now. Gu Yu hasn't accomplished anything since he took office. He should have died long ago. Lu Yurong shook her head. As for the Emperor's anger, it's useless. He won't go against the Holy Church of Light. And Lung Jinghua frowned. I'll try. He rose and hurried away. Lu Yurong paced around thoughtfully. Why did the Holy Church of Light want to assassinate Gu Yu? As the Holy Church of Light, they should be eager for someone like Gu Yu to remain as the Secret Guardians Hall's commander. The more useless Gu Yu was, the more advantageous it would be for the Holy Church of Light. Why did they have to assassinate Gu Yu? She frowned and remained silent, feeling that something was not quite right. After a while, she had a flash of inspiration and a smile appeared on her face. A disciple of the Holy Church of Light might not be assassinated by the Holy Church of Light. If someone else were to imitate a disciple of the Holy Church of Light, who would know if it was real or fake? In any case, the murderer had not been caught. She suddenly remembered a piece of news. Gu Yu said that he had found evidence of Chu Li colluding with the Holy Church of Light and had sent someone to invite Chu Li back to confront him. The Holy Church of Light. Chu Li. A smile suddenly appeared on her face. Then, she glided away. Chu Li was cultivating on Jade Guardian Island. He was diligently cultivating the great heaven-deriving sword and Philip Swift Thunder. Both martial arts were very important to him. He suddenly raised his eyebrows and disappeared from Jade Guardian Island in a flash. Sky Inn was very lively. The first floor was the busiest, the second floor had cubicles, and the third floor was a single room. Lu Yurong was wearing a white gown and a white veil. She sat in a single room on the third floor of Sky Inn by the window. There was no one else beside her and she was eating elegantly. Chu Li suddenly appeared in the room and sat opposite her. Lu Yurong took off her white veil and revealed her charming face. She looked at him with a faint smile. Chu Li said, "Welcome, what brings you here?" "Chu Li, you killed Gu Yu, didn't you?" Lu Yurong asked. Chu Li could not help but laugh. "I wanted to do that. Wasn't I waiting for you to kick him out of the Secret Guardians Hall?" Gu Yu is dead? You're playing dumb." Lu Yurong stared at him. Her watery eyes penetrated every pore as if she was trying to drill into his heart. Chu Li said snappily, "I'm happy. How did he die?" "I heard that he was assassinated by a disciple of the Holy Church of Light." Lu Yurong smiled. "I'm curious. Why would a disciple of the Holy Church of Light want to kill him? He's such a muddle-headed guy. They would love for him to be the commander of the Secret Guardians Hall." Chu Li said, "Although Gu Yu is muddle-headed, he has been especially hard on the Holy Church of Light ever since he took the position. It's understandable that he wants to kill Gu Yu." I think there's a problem." Lu Yurong shook her head. "The one who wants to kill Gu Yu the most isn't the Holy Church of Light, it's you, Chu Li." Chu Li said, "I want to kill him but I'm not in a hurry. I believe you have a way to get him away. When he's no longer a commander, it won't be so troublesome to kill him then. I'll just get rid of him silently." "What if something forces you to do it?" Lu Yurong smiled. I heard that Gu Yu has evidence of you colluding with the Holy Church of Light. Chu Li laughed. Where did you hear such a ridiculous rumor? It's true. Lu Yurong said. In short, there's a high chance that Gu Yu died in your hands. Chu Li sighed. If the Emperor hears this, he'll definitely kill me. It's good that you know. Lu Yurong smiled. She was pleased when she saw Chu Li's expression. Chu Li shook his head. You think it's me, but I think it's you. Me? Lu Yurong pursed her lips and smiled. Tell me, why do I want to kill him? First, for the position of commander. Chu Li said, I know you've been eyeing the position of commander of the Secret Guardians Hall. He's an eyesore there, so you can't wait and want to get rid of him as soon as possible. Second, Chu Li smiled and waved his hand to stop her from talking. He continued, it's also our agreement. I won't go so far as to kill him just because of the agreement. Lu Yurong scoffed. There are many ways to get rid of him, but killing him is the stupidest way. Chu Li said, sometimes the stupidest way is the most unexpected, especially for someone as smart as you. You're putting the blame on me. Lu Yurong scoffed. Chu Li shook his head. This is my honest opinion. I'm sure many people will think the same, such as His Highness the Crown Prince or the Emperor. Lu Yurong's expression changed. Chu Li said, will His Highness the Crown Prince mention to the Emperor that you'll be the commander? The Emperor is a suspicious person. Will he suspect that you're the culprit? Lu Yurong frowned. Chu Li smiled. Looks like His Highness the Crown Prince has already mentioned it to the Emperor. Hee, I'm afraid you won't be the commander anymore. Are you happy? Lu Yurong scoffed. What good will it do to you if I don't become the commander? Chu Li smiled. There's nothing good about that, but if you become the commander, we can work together. Chapter 1204. Will the Emperor be so heartless? Shao Qi frowned. Although she was born in the public house, she knew that the most ruthless imperial family was the Emperor's. The Emperor's mind was usually cold, and he prioritized his own interests over everything else. He regarded human lives as nothing. However, Fu Mengshan was not an ordinary courtier. He was the Emperor's confidant, and he was loyal to the Emperor. Killing him just like that was unacceptable. Who would still be loyal to the Emperor? Chu Li said, accompanying the Emperor is like accompanying a tiger. The Emperor has always been like this, there's no difference. Shao Qi sighed. The public house could only be loyal to the Emperor. This was the ancestral teaching and could not be changed. However, such a cold-blooded and heartless Emperor did not deserve loyalty. Chu Li said, I'm afraid that the fact that I'm hiding in the Holy Church of Light will be leaked as well. You want to kill Gu Yu? It's too risky. Shao Qi shook her head. Gu Yu isn't that easy to kill, and the consequences are too severe. She knew that Chu Li would definitely kill Gu Yu. She could guess that Gu Yu must have been protected by a top-notch master who was not inferior to Chu Li. Otherwise, he would have been assassinated a long time ago. There were many top-notch masters in the imperial house who almost never appeared in front of the public. They came from the inner mausoleum. If such a master protected Gu Yu, it would be troublesome if the assassination failed. Chu Li said, he'll definitely use this as a threat, and he'll definitely spread the news. It's better to strike first, there's no other way. Xiao Qi looked at him and sighed helplessly. She did not say anything more. Chu Li smiled. If we really can't do it, there's still the Spirit Crane's Peak. We can just hide there. All right. Shao Qi smiled. She would not object to Chu Li's decision, but it was indeed dangerous. However, which of his matters was not dangerous? He had always managed to turn misfortune into fortune. If worse came to worst, he still had God's limbs and Spirit Crane's Peak. Chu Li suddenly disappeared. Gu Yu had been reading dossiers in the main hall of the Secret Guardians Hall for the entire morning. The more he read, the more he felt a headache. Thus, he put down the dossiers and slowly walked out of the secret guardian's hall. He left the main street and walked to a side street. He wanted to reward himself for his hard work, so he went into a small restaurant, sat in front of a table, and sighed. He realized that he was not suited to be a commander. It was too boring. In the eyes of others, it was exciting to have a high position and power, but in fact, he rarely experienced the thrill of power. Instead, he felt like he was sitting on pins and needles. He felt that every secret guardian in the residence was secretly laughing at him. A new broom sweeps clean. Chu had ruthlessly extinguished his prestige and caused him to be disgraced. Moreover, the May Air courtyard had been openly complying with him but secretly opposing him. This had caused his prestige to plummet even further. His ability to control the secret guardian's hall had rapidly declined. Without Chen Donghai's help, he would not have been able to command the secret guardians at all. Just thinking about how he was not as good as Chen Donghai, who had been crippled of his martial arts, infuriated him. However, this kind of time was gone forever. He had Chu Li's lifeblood in his hands. He had never thought that when he was helping the emperor to get rid of Fu Mengshan, he would unintentionally gain something. Fu Mengshan actually said something shocking before he died, that Chu Li had already infiltrated the Holy Church of Light. This was a great merit, but he didn't report it to the emperor. If he reported it himself, then it would be his merit. However, as soon as this thought flashed through his mind, he immediately extinguished it. If it was someone else, he would have directly reported it to the emperor and received this merit before anything else. However, Chu Li was different. He felt that this was a chance to overthrow Chu Li. As long as he told Chu Li would have to listen to him obediently. When that time came, he could do whatever he wanted to do with him. Thinking of this, he became excited. He felt that the sun was exceptionally bright and the weather today was exceptionally refreshing. His body felt light. The small restaurant that he frequented looked very ordinary, but they cooked good fish, which suited his taste. He had been here several times and every time, he ate to his heart's content. More importantly, the lady boss here was a charming lady. Every time he ate, he would admire her lithe figure and his appetite would be particularly good. As he thought about it, he had already found out about the origins of this restaurant. The male owner of the restaurant was a good cook. His ancestor was a chef from the imperial house. Although it had been 4 generations, the skill of cooking fish was still passed down. After going through 4 generations, the family's connections had all dissipated, so they could only stay in such a quiet place and open a small restaurant. As the commander of the Secret Guardians Hall, it was a piece of cake for him to take care of this family. However, he enjoyed the current stage the most. He wanted to succeed but he did not. Once he succeeded, it would be boring. 2 gray-robed elders sat not far from his seat. They seemed to have nothing to do with him. He was staring at the young lady who was serving the dishes and greeted her with a smile. The lady boss looked at him with a faint smile. At this time, an elder in green slowly walked into the restaurant and sat at the table next to Guyu. He waved his hand to ask the lady boss to come over. Then, he casually ordered 2 dishes and looked at Guyu. Guyu glanced at him and then looked away. He was just an ordinary old man who did not know martial arts. He could not be bothered with him. The 2 gray-robed elders behind Guyu stared at the elder in green for a while. Finally, they slowly turned their heads to admire the lady boss's enchanting figure. It was indeed a great enjoyment. Bang! Suddenly, there was a muffled sound. The elder in green had punched Guyu's back. Guyu flew into the air. The elder in green appeared behind him in a flash and punched the back of his head again. This time, his brain was smashed. Even with a spirit medicine like the spirit blessing pill, he would still be an idiot and would not wake up. No! The 2 gray-robed elders roared and rushed over. The elder in green sent Gu Yu flying with another punch. Then, he jumped out of the window and disappeared in the blink of an eye. One of the gray-robed elders went to catch Gu Yu while the other chased after him. By the time he chased out of the restaurant, he had already lost sight of the green-robed old man. He hurriedly leaped onto the roof and looked down. The streets were bustling with people and carriages, so he couldn't see the green-robed old man's figure at all. The gray-robed elder howled at the sky. He took something out and threw it into the air. Bang! An explosion was heard in the sky. Then, a ball of flame condensed in the sky. When this signal was heard, the city gates would be closed. The commander of the Secret Guardians Hall was an important official. How could he be assassinated so easily? As long as the city gates were closed, he would be found after a slow search. The elder in green suddenly disappeared from the city and appeared on the High Duke's public house's Jade Guardian Island. Chu Li's real face had been restored. Shao Qi was sitting in the garden reading. When she saw him, she looked at him thoughtfully. Chu Li smiled. It's a success. That easy? He thought no one would dare to assassinate him. Chu Li shook his head. He only brought 2 protectors. Although they're top-notch masters, they weren't that vigilant. No one could recognize you, right? I used the Divine Light Fist. Chu Li smiled. Chapter 1205. Chu Li smiled and said, Moreover, I can also lend you a hand and help you sit in that position. Lu Yurong frowned at him. How are you going to help me? What if I recommend myself to be the commander now? What do you think? Chu Li smiled. Lu Yurong replied, How can the emperor agree? Chu Li replied, I'm actually very suitable. Everything else aside, just my ability to solve cases is enough for me to be the commander, right? If I take over the Secret Guardians Hall, no place in the fairies' capital can escape from the Secret Guardians Hall's control. That's true. Lu Yurong nodded. Lu Yurong knew that she was good at planning and strategizing. However, Chu Li was not only good at planning and strategizing, but he was also very perceptive. No case could escape his detection. If he really took over the Secret Guardians Hall, the Secret Guardians Hall would have astonishing development. You're biased towards King Ping. Lu Yurong shook her head. The Emperor won't agree. Then I can use the power of the Imperial Court. Chu Li smiled. I'm sure many courtiers want me to take the commander's position. Chu Li had always been a straightforward person, especially when he went against the Emperor and was banished to the Imperial Mausoleum, which made people gasp in admiration and caused his reputation to soar. If he were to take over the Secret Guardians Hall, the courtiers would no longer have to worry about being wrongly accused. Lu Yurong remained silent. Chu Li smiled. What do you think? Lu Yurong scoffed. No matter how loud the courtiers are, it depends on whether the Emperor listens to them. You have no hope of taking that position. Chu Li replied, That's not necessarily true. Heroes are created by circumstances. All right, if I become the commander, we can work together. Lu Yurong scoffed. Chu Li smiled in satisfaction. If you become the commander, you can't betray my people. You can't hide the news from each other. You're greedy. Lu Yurong scoffed. How is that possible? Chu Li replied, May Air Courtyard will listen to you. Lu Yurong frowned. If I'm the commander, they should listen to me. Chu Li smiled without saying a word. Lu Yurong scoffed. All right, what else? Chu Li replied, Nothing else, I just got some news. But let's make this clear. If you purposely hide anything from me, our collaboration will be over. No problem. Lu Yurong nodded. I won't go so far as to do such a thing. That's good. Just wait for the commander's throne, Chu Li said with a smile. Lu Yurong pursed her lips and chuckled. You talk big. Don't be happy for nothing in the end. You'll have to compensate me. Don't worry, Chu Li said. Lu Yurong tilted her head and said, I'm even more certain now that you killed him. Chu Li replied, You're imagining things. By the way, how's the investigation on Zhu Liang going? Lu Yurong stopped smiling and said seriously. He's not famous, so it's hard to find him. However, I found some clues. It seems that he's hiding in Jing dynasty. Which part of the Jing dynasty? Chu Li quickly asked. Lu Yurong thought for a moment. I'm not sure if it's accurate, but it seems to be at Ascending Dragon Mountain. Chu Li raised his eyebrows as he was secretly surprised. It couldn't be such a coincidence, right? Heavenly King Palm was hidden in the Ascending Dragon Mountain, and Zhu Liang was also hiding in the Ascending Dragon Mountain? If that was really the case, it was very likely that this Ascending Dragon Mountain had some profound secrets that he did not understand. It seemed that he would have to make another trip to Ascending Dragon Mountain. Why are you asking about Zhu Liang? Lu Yurong was puzzled. He's a person from more than 1,000 years ago. Although he's an enlightened master, he should have ascended to the Grandmaster's boundary long ago. What connection do you have with him? Chu Li said, I found out that Zhu Liang was a disciple of Green Deer Cliff, but he later betrayed the sect. Lu Yurong was shocked. She really did not know about this. She spent a lot of effort to look through the books in the Crown Prince's residence. She even used the Crown Prince's connections to enter the Imperial Library. After searching for a long time, she finally found information about Zhu Liang. It was found in an anecdote. However, there was no record of him being a traitor of Green Deer Cliff. It seemed that very few people knew about his identity back then. It made sense when she thought about it. Green Deer Cliff would not make it public, and Zhu Liang would not make it public either. Hence, it was difficult for others to know about it. The disciples of Green Deer Cliff had always been secretive. How did you know? Lu Yurong asked. Fa Yuan helped me. Chu Li smiled. Lu Yurong said, Why did you go through so much trouble to find out about this person? To obtain the martial arts of Green Deer Cliff? I'm a little interested. Chu Li replied. Lu Yurong shook her head. I advise you to give up. It's impossible for him to keep the martial arts of Green Deer Cliff. Even if he did, it would have decayed long ago. It's been more than 1,000 years. Chu Li smiled. I'm just curious. All right, we'll go our separate ways then. He got up and fist saluted before turning to leave. Lu Yurong scoffed. What's the hurry? Aren't you going to eat first? Chu Li said, I'll go back and eat. Shao Qi is really good at taming her husband. Lu Yurong smiled faintly. Chu Li glared at her before turning to leave. When Lu Yurong returned to the Crown Prince's residence, it was already the next morning. She went straight to the backyard to cultivate. When Leng Jinghua slowly walked into the backyard, Lu Yurong knew that things were not going well. Yurong, I'm afraid things won't go as you wish. Leng Jinghua was dressed in a luxurious robe. He sighed and sat in the gazebo. He shook his head at Lu Yurong, who was holding a sword. Father is quite angry. He's a little suspicious of you. Lu Yurong said, No matter how suspicious he is, it shouldn't be me. If it wasn't for that, I'm afraid Father would have already chosen you. Leng Jinghua shook his head. Fortunately, you're from the High Duke's public house. No matter how much trouble the High Duke's public house caused, their loyalty was guaranteed. Therefore, no matter how angry the Emperor was, he would not want to kill them. He would only ignore them and give them the cold shoulder. Lu Yurong asked, Then who's going to be the commander? Father is still hesitating. Leng Jinghua said. Lu Yurong nodded thoughtfully. Leng Jinghua said, Yurong, let's forget about it this time. Maybe next time, there'll be a chance. If it doesn't work out, I'll promise you after 10 years. Once I'm crowned, I'll make you the commander of the Secret Guardians Hall. Thank you, uncle-in-law. Lu Yurong smiled. But after you're crowned, I won't be the commander anymore. Leng Jinghua understood what she meant. She wanted to be the commander because she was worried that King Ping and the others would overthrow him. Based on her personality, once she was crowned, she would retire and return to the High Duke's public house. Lu Yurong asked, "Did you find the murderer? Where can we find him?" Lung Jinghua shook his head. "The Holy Church of Light is the most troublesome. If he hides in the crowd, it's impossible to find him." Lu Yurong pondered. "Don't the two protectors recognize him? With just the two of them, even if they watch him all day long, how many people can they see?" Lung Jinghua sighed. "The most important thing is to be on guard." "This is too demoralizing," Lu Yurong said. "If anyone else dares to be the commander, the Holy Church of Light will probably try to assassinate them. There'll be people fighting for it." Lung Jinghua shook his head. Lu Yurong smiled. The position was indeed very tempting. It was the Emperor's confidant. Once they took the position, they only needed to answer to the Emperor. There would be no one above them, and they would only be under one person. It was really impressive. While the two were talking, they suddenly heard hurried footsteps. Chapter 1206. Ling Jinghua and Lu Yurong stood up at the same time. "What?" Lung Jinghua screamed. The green-robed scribe whispered, "It's news from the imperial house." "Impossible!" Lung Jinghua slammed the stone table and yelled, "It can't be him." Lu Yurong calmed down and asked, "Are you sure it's him?" "Not yet." The green-robed guard said in a low voice, "The Emperor is hesitating. He has this thought." I understand. You may leave." Lu Yurong waved her hand. The green-robed guard quietly retreated out of the pavilion, left the back garden, and disappeared. Lu Yurong looked at the furious Ling Jinghua and said gently, "Uncle-in-law, don't panic. The Emperor hasn't made up his mind yet." "What does father mean?" Lung Jinghua took a deep breath and sat down slowly. "Everyone knows that Chu Li is loyal to King Ping, but father wants to make him the commander of the Secret Guardians Hall. What is he trying to do?" Lu Yurong frowned and was puzzled. Logically, the Emperor would not use the art of balance on the Crown Prince because it was unnecessary. As an enlightened master, he was not afraid that the Crown Prince would make him a mere figurehead. Besides, it was only for 10 years. Chu Li offended the Emperor because he wanted to defend King Ping. He was sent to the Imperial Mausoleum and almost never made it back. Everyone knew that Chu Li was on King Ping's side. If he became the commander of the Secret Guardians Hall, it would not benefit the Crown Prince at all. The news from the palace would not be fake. They would not spread the news if they were not confident. She pondered for a while and looked up. "Uncle-in-law, the Emperor might be testing Chu Li." "Why would he?" Lung Jinghua frowned. "Father doesn't need to test him," Lu Yurong said. "Who knows what the Emperor is thinking? But no matter what, he won't let Chu Li take over the Secret Guardians Hall." Now that she had sobered up, she suppressed her worries. Chu Li was not the Emperor's confidant. Even if the Emperor was an enlightened master and fearless, he would not let Chu Li take over the Secret Guardians Hall. It was equivalent to the Secret Guardians Hall losing their eyes and ears. Lung Jinghua sighed. "The last time I was banished to the Imperial Mausoleum, it was actually father who punished me too harshly, and I've let fourth brother down as well. This time, he might be making it up to me. No, I have to go to the palace to see father." Lu Yurong shook her head and smiled. "If uncle-in-law enters the palace, I'm afraid I really have no hope." "Are we just going to watch it happen?" Lung Jinghua was unwilling to give up. Lu Yurong nodded. "I'm afraid the Emperor also wants to see Chu Li's background." "I'd love to see it too." Lung Jinghua scoffed. By noon, the news that Chu Li was going to take over the Secret Guardians Hall had spread and everyone knew about it. After that, everyone knew the specifics of the situation. It was said that Princess An personally went to the palace to meet the Emperor and explained the benefits of Chu Li taking over the Secret Guardians Hall. He was brimming with talent and was fair in his conduct. Everyone respected him, and the Secret Guardians Hall would change from the gloomy atmosphere of the past to become dignified and imposing, forming an effective deterrent. After the emperor heard it, he felt that it was reasonable and said that he needed to consider it and could be used as a backup. After that, he would consider other candidates and make another decision. However, everyone felt that Chu Li was the most confident in getting the position of commander among all the candidates. Firstly, he was already a centurion of the Secret Guardians Hall, so he was familiar with the process. Secondly, he was so talented that no one could compare to him. The others had not been tested, so they could not be sure if they were more suitable than him. Therefore, everyone confidently said that Chu Li would definitely become the new commander of the Secret Guardians Hall. Chu Li was not in Fairy's capital, but he hurried back from the public house the next morning and went straight to the palace to meet the emperor. Imperial House, Chongwen Hall. The morning air was exceptionally cold. It was already winter, so Chongwen Hall was extremely spacious but warm. Once one stepped in, one would be enveloped by the hot air, and one would want to take off all their clothes. The emperor, Leng Wufeng, was sitting behind the dragon table. He was dressed in a bright yellow robe and was carefully sizing Chu Li up. He was thin and short, and looked like an ordinary rich man. There was not a trace of sharpness in him, and he did not look like a master. Only Chu Li had experienced how terrifying he looked when he transformed into an enlightened master. Chu Li entered with a cold air and fist saluted. "Greetings, Your Majesty! You came back in such a hurry. Did you hear the news?" Leng Wufeng put down the memorial and asked lazily. Chu Li replied, "Yes." "How is it?" "Please forgive me, Your Majesty. I can't be the commander." Chu Li shook his head. "Oh?" Leng Wufeng scoffed. "Princess and praised you to the skies." Chu Li said, "Princess and meant well. She felt that King An's imperial residence has lost its support and needs a sufficient official position to support it so that it won't be bullied." I understand," Leng Wufeng said. "That's why I didn't say much. Although she doesn't know martial arts, she's very knowledgeable. What she said makes sense, so I have nothing to say." He was very satisfied with this daughter-in-law of his. She was far-sighted, intelligent, powerful, and righteous. Other princesses could not be compared to her. Not only was she loved by the Empress, but he liked her too. It was a pity that King An was unlucky and died young, or he would have been a good wife. After she entered the palace and met him, she analyzed one by one, taking care of public and private affairs, leaving him speechless. He could not refute or deny it, so he could only delay it. He also wanted to take the opportunity to see what Chu Li and King Ping were thinking. Chu Li said, "Even if there are many reasons, I still can't take over the Secret Guardians Hall." "It's good that you understand." Leng Wufeng nodded. He was quite satisfied that Chu Li knew when to advance and when to retreat. Chu Li said, "In the eyes of the Emperor and the courtiers, I'm King Ping's man. If I take over the Secret Guardians Hall, His Highness the Crown Prince will lose face. Everyone will also wonder about the Emperor's attitude toward His Highness the Crown Prince." Leng Wufeng nodded slowly. Chu Li said, "If that's the case, I'd like to recommend someone." "Who?" Leng Wufeng asked. "Lu Yurong." Chu Li said, "The young lady of the Ren public house. She's loyal and capable. She's not inferior to men. I've been her rival, and we've fought countless times without a clear winner." "It's rare that you think of her." Leng Wufeng shook his head. "But she's a woman after all. She's more powerful than men." Chu Li chuckled. "If everyone thinks this way and underestimates her, Lu Yurong will soon make them realize how wrong they are. If she takes over the Secret Guardians Hall, won't the Li dynasty laugh at us for having no one?" Leng Wufeng said. Chu Li said, "The Li dynasty's Holy Church of Light's saint is more powerful, and she's also a woman. Let them fight and see who's better." "Ha ha, interesting." Leng Wufeng laughed out loud. He suddenly felt that Chu Li's recommendation was not out of good intentions. Women understood women the best, and no matter how powerful a man was, he would not be able to guess what a woman would do. In that case, if he wanted to go against the Holy Church of Light, he would need an extremely intelligent woman. Chu Li said, moreover, His Highness the Crown Prince trusts her the most. Other than her, His Highness the Crown Prince will inevitably overthink. Leng Wufeng scoffed. Chu Li smiled. As for me, I'm just a peasant in a remote village, and I can't stand being restrained. Alright, let Lu Yurong do it. Leng Wufeng grinned. She owes you a favor. Chu Li said, I have a personal grudge against her, so I'm recommending her purely out of the public interest. It's rare for you to be so considerate. Leng Wufeng nodded slowly. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.